Hi, everyone. Let me know if you have audio so that we could get started. Hi, D. Hi, Music Guy. Hi, Mahmoud. Hi, the unknown apostate. Hello. Please let me know if you have audio. Today's topic is very important. It's actually interesting because it's the most important topic I talk about, and it's the one that people are the least interested in. But I have to be able to sleep at night. I have to be able to talk about these things, even if it doesn't get us views or support. Hi Soha, I saying audio is good. Music Guy is saying audio is good. Great, fantastic. Yes, we'll get to it. So, Harris Sultan and Nuriyah, am I saying her name right? Sorry if I'm not. Am I saying her name right? Just recently put out a video, which was devastating. But I just have to be careful because I keep being told that I do friendly fire, attack ex-Muslims, do own goals and stuff like that. And this is a lot of people tell me that this is destructive. This is not helpful. We need to be united and all that crap. So just to be clear, just to make it like less seem like just to make it less hostile, because I do value my friendship with Harris Sultan, and I really admire Nuriyah. Am I saying her name right? Somebody please correct me if I'm not. And I really hope that we could have her on as a guest one day on our channel. And most of the videos that I see on Harris Sultan's channel, they're pretty good. Like, you guys need to subscribe to their channel, right? Like, they are very informative. They know their stuff. They know stuff that we don't know, especially when it comes to the Pakistan India region. I learned a lot from them. Okay, so that channel has a lot to offer. Harris Sultan's channel, and I am very grateful for their existence, for that channel's existence, and all the work that they do. Okay, um, so it seems like, because I can't just put out a video every time they say something right and praise them, right? So this might, like, when I put out this video and I attack this video that they just put out there, it might come off as ungrateful, but I have to, because I mean, this cannot, you can't just ignore this. You can't just ignore this. This is so, like, I just want you guys to just be aware that I admire them. I because I like their work, I support them, and I think the channel is very valuable. And I think that you guys, if you want to be, if you're interested in anything ex-Muslim related, Islam related, or India, Pakistan related from a secular perspective, or UK perspective, you need to subscribe to the Harris Sultan channel. Okay, like, I just want to endorse them before I start attacking this one video. Okay. Um, Also, dinosaurs. If you're interested in dinosaurs, Harris Sultan is that. Yeah, Nuri. Oh, that fantastic. Thank you so much for putting it like that, Khalsa. That makes it so much easier. Nuriya Khan. Okay, good. Um, no, you guys are missing the point. You guys are missing the point. You guys, like, I haven't even started, and you guys are defending Harris Sultan. Like, I haven't even began. Like, you guys are triggered. Okay, just chill a goddamn second, and we will get. I'm gonna be here for a while. This is gonna be a long stream. Okay, like, you guys are just like coming up with one phrase, or like, oh, but he said this. Like, we haven't even started, and you guys are butthurt. Okay, just hold on. Just hold on a second. Okay. All right. Be patient with me today. This is very important. This is very important. Okay. We are talking about one of the greatest sources of misery right now in the goddamn world. Okay. This is, and I know this is boring to a lot of you. Okay. Because I know that this doesn't get any, like, when it comes to oppression and inflicting harm and misery, if you don't have a sexy story behind it, people don't give a fuck. And I will get to it. I will get to it. Okay. Anyways, let me share the screen. All right. Let me just play a little bit of it so that we could tell.
This is very.
Okay. Do you guys have audio?
Now there's some good news.
Okay. We have some good news apparently. You have the audio from the video that I just shared? No, Susie is here. Hi, Suze. Yeah, okay, good. Thank you. All right, let's get started. Let me see. Let's put this on normal speed because you guys are not as smart as I am.
News on that front.
All right, what is...
Now there's some good news on that front. This is very good news that it is quite clear that our friend MBS, His Majesty,
here we go.
I don't want to make powerful enemies, you know. You know what happened to Khashoggi, so I don't want to be
as if a little Your Majesty disclaimer gonna save your ass.
No, really.
I called you Your Majesty in Sunday Scoop episode 10. Did you not watch that? The timestamp.
No, I think I'll get away with it because you know, some in the ex-Muslim community, there's some people who are really, really hardcore on MBS. I'm actually not. I think I'm beginning to like the guy.
Yeah, you'll be down the packet. You'll be down the packet.
Yeah, so he's beginning to like MBS. I don't know. Do I need to give the 101 here? Like, people, are we all familiar with MBS and everything? Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince in Saudi Arabia. Do I need to go through that? I'm just assuming you guys like know who this guy is, right? So, like, just move on from there. Okay, so we're already starting really badly. He's saying that he's beginning to like Mohammed bin Salman. Okay.
Packing order of who he'd pop off first, for sure. Yeah, exactly. I think Armin would get popped straight up.
Armin, oh yeah, Armin will get popped straight away. And we'll talk a little.
Okay, apparently I would get. Yeah, I mean, if you're not somebody that would get, never mind.
A little bit about Armin as well.
Okay, we're going to talk about me as well. All right.
Why Armin's view is too unpractical.
Unpractical? You mean impractical?
View is too unpractical, and then, you know, impractical.
Oh, there we go.
He MBS has started taking Saudi Arabia in the right direction, and
MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, is beginning to take Saudi Arabia in the right direction. I just want you guys, before we get to a point where you say, well, Armin, he said this though, he said that though. I just want to remember these things, okay? He's beginning to like Mohammed bin Salman, and he is also claiming that Mohammed bin Salman is starting to take Saudi Arabia in the right directions. I just want you to guys, we'll get to every single one of these claims one by one at some point, okay? Just bear with me. But I just want you guys to remember this before you accuse me of telling you that he said something that he hasn't. Remind me if I forgot that he said these things, okay?
A lot of Pakistanis are pissed at it. It's like more loyal than the king. They're like, Pakistanis think that they're the real Muslims. That they're like, ooh, Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia knows MBS young man, I think.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so some of you are thinking he's being sarcastic. Well, he's going to make the argument. Like, again, you guys are getting ahead of yourself. He's going to make the argument for why this is why he is. Is he being sarcastic when he says I'm being like me specifically? I'm being unpractical, impractical, or like as Nuriyah corrected her, impractical. Is he being sarcastic, continuing to be sarcastic when he says that he thinks Mohammed bin Salman is taking Saudi Arabia in the right direction? Is all of this sarcasm? Oh no, there we go. You actually, oh crap, his second sentence gave it up when he says, okay, good. Okay. So you got it. Yep. So this is not sarcasm. This is real.
He's 36 or 37 years old.
Oh, look, somebody is also saying Karis he isn't being sarcastic. Okay, good. You guys get it. Because I was going to lose it.
He's a de facto. Well, actually, the King Salman is that the king? Is that King Salman?
Yeah.
I think it's King Salman. Yeah. So his father, Mohammed bin Salman. That's where he comes from. So he is totally
Technically, the son is not supposed to be the crown prince in Saudi Arabia. So, but yeah,
fallen off the radar, and we don't know what's happening. So he MBS is the guy.
It's so amazing that this is working on one group of people, that this PR stunt shouldn't be working. Like this whole PR stunt is to whitewash the blood of children, okay? Starvation and disease on population and a mass population of people, okay? Like mass massacre of people is being whitewashed with concerts, okay? And it's working, and on one group of people it shouldn't be working. It's supposed to be like free thinkers or ex-Muslims that I can see beyond these things, and it's working on. If it's working on our free thinkers, then what the fuck hope we have on the rest of the planet to not ignore the greatest humanitarian crisis of our lifetime? Just put on a fucking few concerts and people will look away.
technically the leader. We might even hear that of the passing of His Senior Majesty. I hope not, but that might happen. He's quite a senior citizen. So MBS is the guy, and MBS has decided that, okay, we're gonna manage this country like we've never managed before, and as he brought Salman Khan, the mighty Bollywood actor. He danced in Riyadh, did a massive concert. Thousands of people attended. And Pakistanis are pissed. Pakistanis who watch Salman Khan's songs all the time themselves, but they want Saudi Arabia to keep their people deprived of any.
Has MB
Okay, look at this. Al-Nake is saying, I just don't understand. Could a leader do good and bad? Why have to be single-minded? You are okay. You have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea what you're talking about. This is not this. This is, if there's any leader that you could be somewhat binary about, that there's no gray area, it's this motherfucker. Okay, it doesn't get worse than this. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. You guys are moving ahead.
BS seen Salman Khan rip his shirt off and do the towel dance?
Well, maybe. Oh yeah. Well, I was shocked that Salman Khan is actually 55 years old. He's a grandpa in a way.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Saudi Arabia plans up to 600% increase in concerts next year following Justin Bieber, David Guetta's performances.
600% increase in concerts. Starring Justin Bieber. Like Justin Bieber. Okay. It's amazing. Amazing. Progress, everyone. Progress. We're making progress.
So, Prince Haifa bint Mohammed Al Saud just recently revealed the Middle Eastern nation's ambitious live music plans for the new year while speaking at Riyadh's music conference. So this is also Princess Haifa bint
Where was this when I was there?
Yeah, well,
missed out on all the progress. We missed that on all the progress.
Early in the corresponding discussions, the Saudi royal emphasized that her country's efforts to grow its live music sector represent one component of the broader Vision 2030 framework. So by 2030, Mohammed bin Salman wants to just totally change the image of Saudi Arabia. We're going to have
the 2030.
And we have to try not to let them change the image. Okay, guys, we'll get to that. Okay, so I know we're nobody, we're nothing, we have no power, but at least we could at least we could say, like, we try not to let them hide their crimes behind all of this fucking PR stuff.
Division.
International resorts, people coming in. A lot of people are scared to go to Saudi Arabia. And why shouldn't they be? Like if you're holding hands with your girlfriend or whatever, alcohol. We know the UAE is the first experiment ground.
That's the problem with Saudi Arabia. The problem with Saudi Arabia is like, oh, you can't drink alcohol, you can't be holding hands, but they're fixing that, right? Girls can walk around in shorts, but hey, maybe one day they could get around to walk in shorts. That's the actual problem we have with Saudi Arabia. That's our highest priority right now.
For experimenting lab for Saudi Arabia. And recently, I think a few weeks ago, we covered that they've legalized adultery, they've legalized alcohol consumption, and they also last year they recognized Israel. I think Saudi Arabia stepped short of it, but everyone knows that they've been holding talks with the Israeli government, and it's a matter of time when they recognize it. Why? Because they're opening up. They've realized that this is not the freaking 7th century desert. We have to be a part.
It's way worse. It's way worse, like, than the 7th century desert. They weren't using disease and mass starvation and bombing ports and hospitals and schools and funerals during 7th century Arabia. It was way better back then compared to what Mohammed bin Salman is doing. Like, oh, you're making... They realized that they can't be that backwards like 7th century Arabia. Oh yeah, they're going backwards compared to then. They're far worse. They're acting like Harris is thinking like, oh, they have concerts. They're making progress. Mohammed bin Salman, Saudi Arabia has never had a worse king. This man is a fucking monster, even based on dictator standards. There doesn't exist a worse leader right now. Guys, even compared to Kim Jong-un, compared to Khamenei, compared to Xi Jinping, none of these motherfuckers, and these are the worst that I can think of right now, none of these fuckers have yet to bomb a school, have yet to bomb ports, to try to use starvation as a weapon of war against civilians. None of them have yet done that. Harris, you're in the live chat right now. I'm not going to keep addressing everything you point out because I have your video and now you're also in the live chat. But if I see something you say, I'm going to highlight it maybe. I don't know. This is why I needed Susanna here, but she's moving. Look at this. Okay, I'm going to highlight it just to address it. But this is going to take forever then. That's like when we talk about something good in America, we start bringing up Abu Ghraib or Guantanamo Bay and Iraq War. Well, we do. First of all, I fucking do. Okay? But this is you're completely full of shit, Harris, because when something happens in good in the United States, it's not specifically done by the people that did the Abu Ghraib or the Guantanamo Bay as a way to cover it. Okay, so I criticize United States, and I also celebrate the good things they do. Okay, but those are done by different institutions and individuals. For example, United States is the leading country in the world in technology and fighting against disease and all of that stuff. Okay, and I celebrate that. Okay, but if all of that good stuff was done by the people who are actually responsible for Guantanamo Bay or the Iraq War as a way to cover those crimes, then I would look at it differently. Also, maybe like leading in technology and fighting disease is not comparable to fucking concert on purpose as a fucking cover-up that you fell for. Did the United States invent the internet as a way to cover up for their war crimes? If they did, I would criticize it. I would like, hey, don't be distracted. This is the purpose of this whitewashing, and it's being done by the same motherfucker responsible for all this war. It's the same guy. It's not like, oh, these are some institutions in Saudi Arabia that are doing bad things, and there are some different good people in Saudi Arabia that is irrelevant from all those crimes that are putting up these concerts. No, it's the same individual. It's not even the same entity or institution. It's the same person.
Of the global community. No matter how fundamentalist you are, your Allah is not going to come from the skies and is going to take you forward. You cannot run the world.
Anyways, I just have to say again, this is very important. This is a very important topic to me. I still love Harris Sultan, and I still value everything he does, and I still think his channel is providing a lot of value, and I still think all of you should go subscribe to him, and all of you should go also support his GoFundMe when he's fighting the people who are giving his death threats. Okay, just don't let I still say all of those things. Okay, don't let me. This is a very important topic to me, so please don't let my passion and about this topic think that I'm trying to dismiss Harris Sultan. He's still a hero, okay, in my mind. This is something I significantly disagree with, okay? Just letting you know. I don't want to like you guys to think like I am dismissing any of that, okay?
On these 7th century principles, no matter how dogmatic you think you are, no matter how hardcore you think you are, as you saw, some of the hardest nuts to crack. Look at these guys. Like even the Taliban are begging the US, the UN, the international community. You have to be a part of the international community. Saudi Arabia recognizes that the world is moving towards electric cars, and the petrol prices.
Okay, what Saudi Arabia is recognizing is they're not doing out of their kindness, out of their fucking heart. They're doing this out of desperation. They have seen the writing on the wall. Oil money is not going to last forever. They are afraid. They sleep with one eye open at night, thinking about, I don't know, either Muslim Brotherhood or Iranian assassins or whatever is showing up and starting mass protests one day in the streets and just toppling the government. They just know that once they run out of money, once they run out of oil money, this whole thing is like it's like a house of cards that could just fall apart, and they don't know if they're going to be able to keep their heads on their shoulders once it does. So they are desperate. That's why they're trying to move away from oil revenues, and to do that they need like tourism and investments, and to do that they need to change their image. This has nothing to do with them like, oh yeah, we all of a sudden realize that progressing and progressivism and secularism is just the way to go. That's a good thing. That's not what they're doing. They are terrified and they're trying to stay alive. They're trying to keep all of this above water.
Will keep going down. They're on the decline, but not on the rise. So Saudi Arabia recognizes that the moment Saudi Arabia it's the largest exporter of oil. The moment it runs out, it'll become very, very irrelevant. So Mohammed bin Salman, being a young man, he's going to be in power for, who knows, unless there's a revolution, he's going to be in power for 30 years or something. So he wants to take it. But what
more than 30 probably.
What surprised me, Nuriyah, is that it's not only just okay, correct me on this one. Unreligifying. It's not even a word.
No, it's not a word, mate.
Theologicizing.
What do you actually make my brain hurt.
I don't know what would be the word. So anyway, so instead of let's use
de-radicalizing,
de-Islamifying.
De-Islamifying, that works.
There you go. We got there.
Got there in the end.
So MBS is not only just de-Islamifying Saudi Arabia, and which as a result pissing off a lot of people, he is also allowing free thinking. Now this took me by surprise.
Free thinking.
Saudi Arabia allows free thinkers to talk to students. Now, this Harvard professor, a major international conference on philosophy has been held in Saudi Arabia aimed at encouraging critical.
Oh, allowing free thinkers to talk. Okay, let's see. This is okay. This is progress. Let's see what's
thinking in a country where citizens have been jailed in recent years for expressing
they've been jailed. The free thinkers have been jailed, right? So Did they let the free thinkers free while they're having this free thinking conference?
Are seen as dissenting views. Obviously, we know about
A major international conference on philosophy has been held in Saudi Arabia, aimed at encouraging critical thinking. Okay, great. So the free thinkers that are in jail right now, they're all free?
Raif Badawi. No, there's so many
He
people.
mentions Raif Badawi. Guys, where is Raif Badawi right now?
Raif Badawi. No, there's so many people who've been arrested. The leading American philosopher Michael Sandel was among a number of highly respected academics who took part in the 3-day event in Riyadh. So he
Fuck him. Did they bring up Raif Badawi?
didn't go to Saudi Arabia. He actually did it by Zoom. He addressed the Saudi crowd.
Safer, mate. Safer. Clever man.
Yeah, but I think he would have the support of.
No, of course. If he's being
MBS.
invited at that level, of course. But I'm just joking.
But still, no. Well, no. You know, if Armin Navabi is invited by MBS, hey, MBS, Armin, would you like to come and talk about your views?
Don't trust that invite for a second.
Armin, not a good idea. But having said that,
but you can go because you've called him His Majesty. So
His
you can
Majesty, I am a massive fan, Mr. Your
Shame.
Your Highness, Your Majesty, Mohammed bin Salman. I'm a massive fan. So screw Armin Navabi. I'm throwing him under the bus. So Armin Navabi. Okay. So
all right, guys. Was this a joke? This conference is what was this a conference on critical thinking? Are you suggesting that like free thinking is now being promoted? And he actually mentioned Raif Badawi. Okay, that was Harris is saying that was a sarcastic comment. Which part? You showed us a conference on critical thinking as a sign of what? They literally have a conference on critical thinking skill while Raif Badawi is still in jail. Like, is this a joke? All the activists that were pushing for the reforms that are now happening in Saudi Arabia, they're in jail, and they having a conference on critical thinking skills, and people are like, "Oh my God, look at this! Let's celebrate this." While all these people are still rotting in prison, like, is there not a bigger joke to show how you actually can keep these people in prison and people will still celebrate you because you had a conference on critical thinking skills? Like, did the people, one person called in, given that he was not in Saudi Arabia, did he bring up Raif Badawi? Because fuck him if he didn't. Like, fuck him if he didn't. Okay, keep watching. I'll address that as well. We will. Don't worry. We're gonna watch all of it. We're gonna watch all of it, and we're gonna watch some other things as well. I did point the irony. Okay, let's see. Then what's the point of doing? Guys? Then the fact that conference is being held should be used. Like, what's the point of highlighting that conference? To celebrate Saudi Arabia's progress? Because that conference should only be used to ridicule how Saudi Arabia is trying to whitewash the existing crimes that they're committing.
So anyways.
D saying, Armin, can we bring on Harris on? If he's interested at the end, I need to make my points, because I know if I bring him on, then I'm not going to be able to finish everything I want to go through. If he's still available at the end, maybe and interested, I don't know. Maybe by the end of it, he's going to be tired of me. But I would love to have him on after I finish making all the points.
So he's doing MBS is doing all of these things. So let's just talk about this. But Armin,
okay, like, look at this. You guys don't get it, do you? Vikram is saying secular jihadists. Isn't some progress better than no progress? Yes, some progress is better than no progress. If there was being made some progress, there is no progress. They're going backwards. They're killing more people. They're starving more people. They're torturing more people. They're kidnapping more people. This is not progress. This is the opposite, the greatest step backwards Saudi Arabia has ever seen. And you guys are seeing it as small progress because you're seeing girls in dresses and in shorts, and people are dancing to concerts, and some women are driving, and there's theaters opening, and you're thinking that's progress. That's how you measure progress. This is progress to you guys. They're starving children on purpose. How is this progress?
No, but you spoke about Lewis Hamilton, and Lewis Hamilton was, and then I think Nicki Minaj pulled out, or Beyonce pulled out. So
I think it was Nicki Minaj because of all of her LGBTQ plus fans that she was like, I can't piss them off. That's a huge portion of my following.
And Armin Nawadi said he holds the view that not only celebrities should boycott Saudi Arabia, but we should also, as free thinkers, we should also encourage and we should applaud people like Nicki Minaj who pull out, who do boycott. And Lewis Hamilton was just in the way, you know, like he said, I wasn't comfortable. So he's halfway there, halfway. One leg on one boat, the other one on the other boat. But I reckon, and I think you said that, and I actually hold your view. You said that, no, I think we should engage them. If someone presents an olive branch, you don't shit on them. You just don't.
Olive branch. You know what was missing in all of this whole Saudi Arabia situation? When they were bombing ports and hospitals and schools and spreading disease as a weapon of war and using starvation as a weapon of war. You know what we needed as an olive branch? More concerts. That's what we needed, okay? And you don't shit on that. They're like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know that you had Justin Bieber on. I didn't know you had Justin Bieber on. I was looking at, just mass starvation of children. Olive branch. Guys, don't just look at the negative. Don't look at the dying children. Also look at the positive. What is the other side? Justin Bieber at a concert in Saudi Arabia. Take the negative. Yes. Malnutrition and starvation of children, the greatest number we've seen in our lifetime. That's the negative. But there's also positive. Justin Bieber concert. Come on, there's good and there's bad. There's good and there's bad. You have to look at life. Yeah, you can't just look at glass half empty all the time.
It's not practical
Yeah, it's not practical. It's not practical. Tell that to dying children. Tell that to civilians who are dying. It's not practical. I know you're suffering. I know this is like the greatest source of human misery right now on the planet, right? And on the planet, there's there's nowhere else that there's this amount of misery. But nobody gives a crap about you because you have no oil. And you're not like Khashoggi, you're not like a journalist or anything that had like a U.S. residentship and that had like worked for like the greatest mainstream media outlet in the United States. So you're just Yemenis. You have nothing. Who gives a shit about you? Okay, we have to be practical. Your lives are worthless. Okay, we have concerts to attend to. Be practical.
For MBS to just literally,
for
me, to be honest, it's very surprising for me as well that the pace at which he's going. He threw Hadiths under the bus here a couple of months ago. He gave a detailed interview. He said we can only stick to Quran. And
he's like, he's putting all that. Okay, so he's like, we did a stream on that as well. Mohammed bin Salman putting out away 95% of the hadith because they're not mutawatir. Even the hadith that is supposed to be sahih. He's like putting them away, basically debasing what all Sunnis, not just Wahhabism, but all four schools of Islamic thought are based on all of the Sahih Hadiths. And he's like basically going at them from their core. So you might be like, oh, that's great, Armin. You hate Islam. This Is this not progress? Isn't Mohammed bin Salman attacking the foundations of all four Islamic schools of thought? Isn't that a good thing? Isn't that amazing? Like, don't you want less Islamization in Saudi Arabia? Guys, Mohammed bin Salman, I would tell you that I think he is the least religious of all Islamic leaders that I know of. Okay, he's probably one of the least religious ones. Okay, and yet he's the biggest fucking monster. Okay, one problem we have among a lot of ex-Muslims is that they have been so involved in attacking Islam that they don't seem to see that just because somebody is less Islamic, that doesn't mean that they're less of a monster. He's the biggest fucking monster of them all. Mohammed bin Salman could come on camera and he could tear up the Quran in front of the camera and be like, fuck Islam. Saudi Arabia is fully secular now and we hate Islam now. Okay, like completely anti-Islam. He's still the biggest fucking monster. I don't even care if he's a fucking atheist. He's the biggest fucking monster of them all. Not all evil comes in the form of fucking religion. Okay, if you starve children to win a war, I don't give a shit how Islamic you are. You're a fucking monster. Yeah, I'm not going to read this, but I'm going to put it up.
Any view that we've held that is not corroborated by
the way, guys, like he's being sarcastic. He doesn't mean like he's not endorsing this Adolf. He's like saying it's kind of like saying something like that.
We can just throw it under the bus. And he said Wahhabism, we need to move away from this.
Oh, great. We need to move away from Wahhabism. So much progress. That's fantastic. Guys, the Wahhabis in Saudi Arabia are way worse of a problem than Mohammed bin Salman. Okay? All the Wahhabis in the fucking world combined have not caused more fucking misery than one man, which is Mohammed bin Salman.
To start driving, now women can actually leave the country without their male guardian. This is all in last 2 years. Even that is a lot in a highly conservative country. He could be, he's making a lot of enemies too, but because he's young and he has this iron will to just, go for it. I think, this is already very, commendable. So I don't think that we should go hard on MBS. I mean, obviously what he did with Khashoggi.
Oh, let's not go hard on him. It's so commendable. So commendable. Just like, yeah, just... Guys, I can't believe it's working. I mean, I know it's working. I know, of course, it's working on people, okay? I know it works on people. I know people just like, they think like, oh, progress just means like flashing lights and partying and drinking and, being able to do like all these sorts of... I think people see like, oh my God, look, girls in shirts. Look at all these booties. That's progress, isn't it? I know like that's how people look at progress, okay? I know people don't actually look at, people access to clean water, access to safety, access to food, access to education, access, like I know a lot of people, unfortunately, that's not how they actually measure progress. But I was hoping that somebody like Harris Sultan and Nuriyah Khan are not like other people, okay? That they have better standards for measuring progress.
That's just a dark chapter that would always remain on his resume. But what he's doing, I think, I don't know. I can't condemn him. I can't. I think
you can't
we
condemn
should encourage
it.
that.
You can't. Yeah, we should encourage it. We should encourage whitewashing. I keep wanting to say mass genocide, but genocide has a very specific definition. It needs to be based on ethnicity. So I'm just going to say mass massacre, right? Like, yeah. So let's just encourage using, rave parties and concerts as a way to whitewash mass massacre of people.
and we should appreciate that. What are your views?
I mean, yeah, it's interesting to see, like, as you said, the rate at which it's happening now is really quick. Like, I thought he would slow down as well, but I think it's all this hype to do with Vision 2030, where by 2030 because they had been starting these things for a very long time ago. Remember when MBS was kind of getting almost groomed to take this role, and he was been given a lot more political power, and he was like going to all the meetings. He had already established like these ideas for cities, economic cities, to be developed within like Jeddah, Riyadh, Dammam, Dhahran, like all these places where there was actually a level of Saudiization going on, where you bring the Saudis, actual nationals, into the workforce, because predominantly it's like all the expats and migrant.
Because you're running out of oil money to give them to just hand them over. Like a lot of Saudis don't even work. When they show up at work, they're not even being productive because they're just getting paid oil money, right? So unfortunately, you have brought them up to be completely dependent on that. And now if that cash starts running out, then people start actually complaining, and you can't have that. So you have to figure out, like, how do I give this massive population of young people that I have just give like fake education degrees and jobs that they just sit on and do nothing and just get paid oil money for? What do I actually do now that we're going to run out of all like this? The party, the gravy train is coming to a halt. What do we do? Like, how can we they're trying to they're just trying to put like a quick fix on a massive problem that they have, like, and it's going to be challenging, but they're desperate, like they're afraid.
Workers who come there to do like the hard graft work and like the work that, like, you know, any multinational corporations and stuff that are there are usually headed by like Western expats, as like on a managerial and like on the C levels and above, but then it's owned by a Saudi. But yeah, honestly, I can't knock progress where I see it. And
it's amazing that this is seen as progress.
When I see women,
you know, it's funny how a lot of people think I'm radical because they don't actually listen to what I'm saying. People actually think that Armin is a radical because he wants overnight change like this. Okay, that Armin, because he doesn't accept gradual progress. In fact, in spite everything I advocate for is gradual progress. I've never advocated for overnight dramatic shifts. Okay, everything I advocate for is gradual progress. And every time I condemn something like this, whether it's reforming Islam or something like this, is what I'm actually saying is that this is not progress. This is people covering up for the opposite of progress, right? This is regress. There's regress. People are doing more harm. People are committing more crimes, and they're trying to whitewash it and sell it to you as progress. And I'm like, this is not progress. And people are like, oh, Armin, why are you against gradual progress? Things can't happen overnight. And I'm like, I didn't say they can happen overnight. I'm saying you're being fooled.
Who are able to now leave the country without needing a freaking
There's not enough fucking concerts in the goddamn world that could whitewash and cleanse this disaster, the sin, the misery, the crimes, the war crimes that have been committed by Mohammed bin Salman. Okay, if you want to talk about like Islam and taking that away and washing away the disaster that has been Islam to society, okay, like, I'm telling you that this Mohammed bin Salman has been a bigger curse to Saudi Arabia than Islam, because generations of progress is not going to be able to take this away. This has to be, I don't know if it will, this has to be Mohammed bin Salman's legacy. Nothing else he does in his life should be able to outshine this. Like, it can't. This is the darkest thing about Saudi Arabia. And it has been done not in the name of Islam. None of this has been in the name of Islam. Okay, I say this as an anti-Islam advocate, as somebody who wants to eradicate Islam. I will tell you the greatest crimes that have been committed in Saudi Arabia has not been in the name of Islam.
Objection certificate, like honestly, Dubai was the same. Like you have to get a letter which is like, I give my daughter or my wife permission to work. It seemed like the weirdest concept to get that. So thank God
Thank God.
I wouldn't say like it's gone in its entirety. Like this is going to be a slow. Women need confidence as well to know that they're going to be allowed to travel without any hiccups along the way, or without their families kind of coming for them the second they find out that they've like left the airport. It's a whole nother like mentality thing that they need to like.
Okay, somebody's saying, I have to stand by what I said about women finally being able to travel abroad and drive. Guys, nobody is telling you, as a basic human rights, nobody is suggesting that you cannot be happy for women in Saudi Arabia that they could finally fucking drive, okay? That they could finally travel without a fucking guardian. Nobody's saying that you can't be happy for those individual women, okay? It's great for those individual women that they have finally some fucking rights. It's insane to suggest otherwise. What I'm like, maybe guys, pay attention. Do not celebrate Mohammed bin Salman for it. How hard is that to understand? These are not contradictory positions. Women who used to be prisoners now have some freedom of mobility. That's a good thing. You could be happy for them. Do not let that progress for those individual people give you the feeling that there's overall progress, because overall Saudi Arabia is going backwards. And more importantly, do not see the people who are loosening up the chains just a little bit to take attention away from their action for their bigger crimes. Do not let that method work. Be like, okay, I'm happy for you that you are a little bit more free, but also fuck MBS. Do not celebrate the man. Do not praise the man. There is no bigger war criminal alive today.
Come to terms with and learn to appreciate it.
Yes, and exactly. The activists who helped reach this point are still in jail, because when the master loosens up the chain, he does that expecting being celebrated, expecting praise, with no credit to the people who pressured you to do that. Not only no credit to them, making sure they rot in jail so you know that you are free, a little bit free by the grace of the master, not because of dissent, because dissent is still not tolerated. If I loosen up the chain, is because I am being kind to you, I am not rewarding dissent. The people who dissented will have to rot as a lesson still.
And use in a way that they're like, we have the full might of the law behind us now. You can't stop us. But yeah, it's good. It's great that the male guardianship system is kind of like, it's being completely minced out. Women can drive there. These musicians, what Bieber's going to do a concert. The Formula One was there.
Bieber, that's just what I needed. I just needed some Bieber. That was what was missing.
Oh, he did it. Oh, so MBS is a believer. For sure. He's a believer. Might not be a believer, but he's definitely a believer.
Yeah.
But yeah, so again, it's because he understands. He's young. He understands that, you know what, before religion, that's only going to get us so far. We're known as like, you know, the home of Islam.
The house of Saud was never into religion, okay? the house of Saud was always using religion for power. It was the house of Wahhab that was into religion. From day fucking one, House of Saud was into power and money and wealth and just maintaining control. They used the house of Wahhab to try to use them as a way to maintain control. Up until 1979, they tried to shift from the house of Wahhab to the United fucking States of America, who's supporting all the war crimes, okay? And then in 1979, because of the revolution in Iran, they're like, oh, fuck, we can't do this divorce right now with the house of Wahhab. It's too soon. The house of Wahhab is too powerful still. They always wanted to do this divorce because they are interested in wealth and power, and religion, too much religion fundamentalism doesn't give them that. This is in the interest of wealth and power, not for anything humanitarian.
And whatever, people come here to do the pilgrimage, they make a killing off that anyway. But he is very, very economically sound and very like money.
Okay, you guys just don't get it, do you? Vikram is saying, to be fair, Armin, I think you are mixing up them recognizing the good things that this leader did with denying the bad. They don't seem to deny that. They are just praising the good things. First of all, Vikram, you're so full of shit here right now because you don't. Are you not listening? Do I have to like repeat this a 1,000 more fucking times? They're not this so-called good things are supposed to be a cover-up for these things that you just call bad things. They are going hand in hand. They are on purpose there to cover up the image caused by the war crimes that they're committing. Actually, not even the war crimes, because people don't give a shit. People care about one individual, which is Khashoggi, apparently. Again, I care for Khashoggi. His killing was a fucking crime. But why just Khashoggi? Because he was a U.S. resident. Because he worked for mainstream media, prestigious American media, okay? American publications. One guy over hundreds of thousands of people in Yemen, okay? This all concerts and stuff is supposed to cover up something like Khashoggi, because you don't even need to cover up Yemen, because who gives a shit about Yemen, right? Also, they're not denying the bad. They don't have to deny the bad because they're not even mentioning it. Have they ever mentioned Yemen once, Vikram? Once! The greatest issue we have with Mohammed bin Salman. Have Nuriyah and Harris mentioned it even once? Even they only focus on Khashoggi. And maybe Raif Badawi because he's like one of us. Like, oh, they're denying the bad. They're not denying the bad. They're ignoring the bad. Yeah, exactly. Suzanne is saying Yemen isn't mentioned once in this video. Once.
Driven, and there's always this underlying like competition anyway between like the UAE and Saudi. So like when the UAE would be like, we're gonna build the tallest wall, Saudi's like, nah, you guys think you got the biggest wall, we're gonna build it like this much square foot more, so now we got the record for the biggest wall. And they've been doing that with like just the country's architecture in general. There's always like this tit for tat, like who can kind of one up each other, whereas Oman is completely the opposite.
Wait, did he just say Mohammed bin Salman was like this?
So far, we're known as like, you know, the home of Islam and whatever. People come here to do the pilgrimage. They make a killing off that anyway. But he's very, very economically sound and very like money.
He's very economically sound. Really, Mohammed bin Salman is very economically sound. The guy that wasted so much of Saudi Arabia's money that is draining like faster. Okay, guys, these people are losing so much money and they're desperate, and that's why they're trying to privatize Aramco. They're running out of fucking cash, okay? And Mohammed bin Salman is like, hey, why don't we wage a war against Yemen? It will just take 3 weeks. How long has it been? It's been 6 fucking years. It's been 6 fucking years. And they have lost money. And these motherfuckers, because they're so much full of pride. They cannot accept defeat, and they want to just stay there because they want to come out with victory. Damn the children that are starving to death because they just want a victory because they're so full of themselves. Their egos are so high that they cannot accept defeat, and the money is being drained on this fucking war with no benefit to anybody, even to themselves. They're losing everything on this war. And also, like, oh, they're so economic savvy. These people are building towers in the middle of deserts. You guys, do you know why you build giant towers? Because you don't have space, okay? You don't have space, so you go, instead of going sideways, you go up. These motherfuckers, they don't build towers for economic reasons. They build towers because they are like, mine is bigger than yours. They compete with each other. There's over pride. They just want, like, we have the tallest building. No, we have the tallest building. Meanwhile, they're in the middle of the fucking desert where you could go in, you have infinite space this way, and you have infinite space that way. You could go sideways as much as you want. So you are not running out of space, but you still build giant towers because look at our giant towers. Look how amazing we are. Look at our giant cities, okay? Because they just want to have this image of progress, image of development, rather than doing actually things that make economic sense. Okay, so no, these people invest in things based on what's sexy, what makes us look good, what gives us the greatest image. They have no understanding. Again, by the way, when I say these people, don't come at me by saying like Armin is racist towards Arab. By these people, I'm talking about monarchs. Okay, I'm talking about monarchs. Okay, don't come at me with being racist. Okay, and if you want to see money disappear the fastest, just let these motherfuckers invest it, okay? They have no fucking idea what they're doing. That's why they keep having to hire financial advisors from more legitimate organizations, and even then they still manage to lose money faster than anyone. Like the amount of waste, the amount of economic waste that these people have managed to do, the amount of oil money that these people have wasted in projects that has gone nowhere is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's ungodly amount of money that they have managed to waste. They have no economic understanding of anything.
Money driven, and there's always this underlying like competition anyway between like the UAE and Saudi. So like when the UAE would be like, we're gonna build the tallest wall, Saudi's like, nah, you guys think you got the biggest wall, we're gonna build.
Oh yeah, that's such an economically sound decision to make. Like, oh yeah, let's waste money on giant towers because mine is bigger than yours. Like, yeah, sure, that sounds very smart.
Build it like this much square foot more, so now we got the record for the biggest mall. And they've been doing that with like just the country's architecture in general. There's always like this tit for tat, like who can kind of one up each other, whereas Oman is completely the opposite. Like they have strict laws against building skyscrapers, and they're going for a whole different image to be portrayed to the world. But yeah, Saudi, I think honestly, it makes sense what MBS is doing, because even the UAE, now that they've openly started doing business with Israel, this has changed the dynamics. There's so much potential there. Like Israeli content creators, film producers, they're coming to the UAE. These people are doing amazing photo shoots on like the top of the Burj Khalifa. They're doing sky, it's just, they're putting Dubai on the map, and Saudi is.
Put that next to the malnutrition, starving children in Yemen.
It's like we cannot afford to get left behind, which explains for me a lot of the reason like behind this drive for like 2030. By then, Saudi will probably, let's chat about this again in 2030 if you and I are both still around. I'm sure Saudi will be unrecognizable compared to, you know, how we see it today.
If any of you have any conscience, by 2030, even if the entire world has forgotten, this is why they call Yemen the forgotten war. Okay, this is why they call the Yemen the forgotten war. Even by 2030, if we are the only people who are talking about what happened in Yemen, and the entire world has a different image from Saudi Arabia, and they managed to completely successfully change people's perception of Saudi Arabia, we have to be there. Okay, even if we can't make a difference because we're just not that many. Okay, but just so that you could be like, you know what, I wasn't one of those people. I wasn't one of those people. You know how in World War II or during Rwanda, some people are like, how could so many people didn't say anything? How did people just stood by and just said nothing? Okay, at least do it just so that you could feel like, you know what? I wasn't one of those people. I wasn't one of those people. I didn't get distracted with all the glimmer and all the lights and all the music and all the concert and all the Bieber fans. Okay, I wasn't one of those people. Okay, so when they try to change this image, be one of those people who didn't fall for it. Just so if you can't change the world, at least you could have some respect for yourself.
We'll
So
talk
yeah,
about it
those are
in the
my
Sunday
thoughts on
Scoop episode 4068.
Oh my
Helen-
god, do I have to put up with you for that long? Bloody hell.
You love it. Don't
kidding.
try to pretend. Yeah, we know that. Everyone knows that. Helen Joyce is saying he's going for the celebs over the citizens' freedoms. And by the way, some people might actually get quite shocked at this. Like I just said, like I can't. I have to appreciate MBS for what he's doing.
Is this sarcastic as well? Everybody like that? Is this also sarcastic? I have to be appreciated. We'll get to more stuff, okay? I want you, we're gonna get to the boring stuff as well. I want to go through some information with the rest of you after I watch these videos. And I think a lot of you are gonna leave by then, okay? But I want to go through some of the, just to let you update you on what's actually happening, okay?
But I also acknowledge at the same time the suffering people have gone through at his hands. But again, he's a person at a high level.
Okay, so this is a good part. Okay, he's acknowledging some of the suffering. Okay, let's see what he's saying. Okay, let's see if we could let's see if we could save that. Okay, he's saying, okay, I acknowledge some of the suffering of the people by his hand. Okay, how do we proceed after that?
But again, he's a person at a high level.
But again, he's a person at a higher level. Okay,
like where they tweak something tiny bit, it just impacts thousands and upon thousands of people.
He just tweaks something a tiny bit, and it just affects thousands of people. Just tweaks, guys. It just tweaks it a tiny bit, and then like, oopsie, I just bombed the fucking port that I know food was supposed to go through to feed civilians. Oopsie, medicine was supposed to arrive. Your entire country is now disease-ridden. Children are dying from sickness because oopsie, I just bombed the fucking port. I just bombed the hospital on purpose. I just bombed the fucking school. Oopsie daisy. I just tweaked it a little bit. Oh my god, I'm just a leader. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm just like, hey, bomb this port. Oopsie, mom. Did I just kill a whole bunch of children? I'm sorry. I'm just a high level leader. Oopsie, I just tweaked this.
Some people say, well, the prime minister changed the interest rate, and that just made so many people homeless, and then they starved to death, and hence prime minister is responsible for their deaths. So, like at a high level, all these things matter. So she's saying that,
guys, no, this is not the same fucking thing. Yes, as a leader, every decision that you make, okay, is going to harm some people and it's going to benefit some people, okay? As a leader, and it's easy for us civilians to sit back and like, oh, you're harming all these people. Well, as a top leader, you actually have to do cost benefit analysis. It's easy for people who are not in the position of top leaders to point at the harm, not realizing that he had to do that. The leader or she or he had to like do a cost benefit analysis. Like, yes, it's harming these people, but I had to do this because of this over this, and overall the net effect is positive. Okay. A lot of leaders get judged like that, and people make it seem like it's easy, and it's not. Okay, but those are complicated, and right, many things are complicated. Interest rates, blah blah blah, economic decisions. You're always gonna end up hurting somebody. Okay, many people, because you can't. Every decision you make, even if you don't make a decision, you're hurting people. So you have to just look at the net benefit. Okay, those are hard. Those decisions are difficult. Okay, do you know what is not difficult? So those other leaders, yeah, so many people judge them many times unjustifiably. They don't understand the complications. But do you know what is not a difficult decision to make? Not bombing a school. I haven't been in top leadership positions of countries or anything like that, but I assume that can't be that hard of a decision to make when I'm doing a cost benefit analysis. When I have my advisors and they tell me like, hey, if we bomb these ports and people don't have access to food, they're gonna fucking starve to death. Should we go ahead with that or not go ahead with that? Should we use starvation against civilians as a weapon of war? Yay or nay? I'm like, there are some benefits to this and there's some cons to this. I don't know. This is complicated. I think most of us here think that would be an easy decision to make. Like not killing civilians on purpose. I think that is not that difficult. You can't be like, oh, no. I think most of us have passed that point. Like, the unknown apostate, you're full of shit. Look at this. Look at this. You're so full of shit. Look at this. That is exactly what I'm trying to say. Well, then you're a fucking monster. Saying this dictators have to exhibit, like, I don't know. Are you endorsing this? I don't know. Apostate. I can't tell your tone by reading this. Dictators have to exhibit some bad things as concessions, and for a greater future, we can't just expect total peace and harmony from dictators. You're so full of crap. You're a fucking monster. Okay. We can't just expect that. How about just not bombing civilians? You can't expect non-bombing civilians. You can't expect not using starvation as a weapon of war. You don't realize that I was being sarcastic? You're so full of shit. You're a fucking monster if you endorse any of this. You're like, I am not endorsing it. I am saying some bad had to come from dictators. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. Guys, even by dictator standards, this is unbelievably monstrous. Guys, we don't have a fucking dictator alive that has committed this many war crimes. Even by dictator standards, this is way beyond the limits, way beyond anything that we have experienced in our lifetime. It's unbelievable that people keep only talking about Khashoggi. There is no single dictator alive today that has committed mass massacre of civilians to this level. I don't understand where your standards are at. See, Vikram is saying, is this not the same as those who attack U.S. neoliberalism by saying the U.S. bombed some countries? Well, U.S. did bomb some countries, and we do condemn it. I don't understand what the point you're trying to make. United States bombed Cambodia, Vietnam. We condemn United States for the war in Iraq. What do you talk like? Yes, and there's nothing United States has managed to do to celebrate those crimes. Like, we don't there's no, the people who are actually indirectly responsible for those crimes, there's no whitewashing that they could do that we were like, oh, but there's some good in them. The problem is the United States is like many different institutions and people and organizations, and many good that comes from the United States is completely independent from the harms and the crimes that are committed by that is done in the United States. They are independent. But in Saudi Arabia, it's being done by the same motherfucker. So I'm not going to celebrate the man. I'm not going to praise the man because he's the same person that directly commanded the massacre of civilians. I don't understand how complicated. Do I have to keep making the same point? D saying, Armin, you need to watch Nuriyah's videos. Please don't judge her. I'm not judging her based on this. I already started this video by saying I celebrate her. I already specifically started saying that I see Harris Sultan as a hero. I see Nuriyah as a hero. And I agree with 99% of their videos. How much more clear do I have to make that? I'm not going to hold back on that one video that is very important to attack just because I agree with 99% of the content that they make. I do celebrate their work even after all of this. I have made that so fucking clear. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say.
For citizens' freedoms. What else would you rather? How else would you do it? What would you rather do?
Okay, so Harris is saying, do you hold those presidents in the same light as MBS? Well, I call them all war criminals. Okay, I call them all war criminals. What I can say is that some war criminals are bigger than all other war criminals. Like Mohammed bin Salman is a bigger war criminal compared to like the current U.S. president, compared to Obama. Okay, I consider Trump a bigger war criminal than Obama. I consider Bush a bigger war criminal than Obama. Obama was supportive of Saudi Arabia, but he did try to reduce. He's still a war criminal because he supported Saudi Arabia, but compared to Mohammed bin Salman, compared to Bush, compared to Trump, he at least tried to reduce it. I think Biden is reducing the support for Saudi Arabia. I still consider them a war criminal because he's not like ending it outright, but I do recognize that he's less of a war criminal compared to Trump because he's trying to reduce the support for Saudi Arabia's war in Yemen. Okay, but they are war criminals, but the biggest war criminal is Mohammed bin Salman. The biggest war criminal alive, at least, is Mohammed bin Salman. Yes, George W. Yes, should George W. Bush be tried for war crimes? Yes, of course, but he's not gonna. United States is not like a signatory to the International Criminal Court, so that's not gonna happen. But if the world was just in any sort, in any way, of course, George W. Bush would have been tried for war crimes. He would have, but I'm not under any delusion that that's ever going to happen. Look at this all or none. Look at this black and white thinking. Everybody would be a war criminal by that lens. No, no, not everybody. No, not at all. And again, it's such black and white thinking. Like, oh, well, if everybody is black and white, what's the difference? There's different levels. Okay. Mohammed bin Salman is by far worse. Like, just because other people are war criminals, it doesn't mean that it's the same fucking level. Like, you're just trying to look at things as binary. Anyways, you guys, we need to watch the video because I have a lot more to show you, so that you guys get the picture.
Would you just say MBS to come out tomorrow and say Saudi Arabia is a secular country from today?
No, never accepted
and
Never
all the
expected
laws that includes blasphemy and apostasy.
You don't need to make Saudi Arabia secular overnight. Just don't kill fucking civilians. Is that too hard?
And in 2015, they passed a law that all atheists are terrorists. You expect him to just, with a stroke of a pen,
no,
change that all in a day? He already
look at how our ideas are being presented. Like, when do we suggest that Mohammed bin Salman? Yeah, look at this. Do we suggest Mohammed bin Salman? We don't celebrate him because he didn't change Saudi Arabia overnight. That's the reason we don't celebrate him. No, guys, here's the thing. Let me give you an example, okay? Let's say there was a country like Saudi Arabia, okay? Like Saudi Arabia. Like, let's say Saudi Arabia 2.0, okay? It was very, very strict. Women didn't have freedom. There was like no theaters. They couldn't drive. People's individual lives were like very, limited in very strict Islamic ways. However, the difference between Saudi Arabia 2.0 to Saudi Arabia is that they're not involved in war crimes, okay? Like, Saudi Arabia original is involved in war crimes. Saudi Arabia 2.0 is not involved in war crimes, okay? And then we have MBS 2.0 in this second version of Saudi Arabia. He's coming out and he's saying, like, look, we're going to slowly make things less strict. We're going to slowly make things less strict, okay? And he doesn't have the blood of children on his hand. This is another version of Mohammed bin Salman 2.0 that is just like no war crimes, nothing like that. He just inherited a kingdom that has very strict laws, and he thinks that that's not okay, and he wants to just make things less strict for the sake of it, because he just thinks that's the right thing to do, okay? Or even not even just for the sake, not just because he thinks it's the right thing to do, just to open tourism and investment for monetary reasons. That's okay, okay? You know what? I would celebrate. We should celebrate that. That is progress. That is progress. Okay, that's not what's happening here. Okay, that is a completely different thing. We have war crimes. These loosening of strict rules being used as a sexy way to distract people. That is not the same. If this second scenario was happening, I would join you guys and saying like, oh my God, look at this. Could be a role model for a country that is, I hope they benefit from this. I hope Saudi Arabia gets a pouring of investment and support in tourism, because we want to see encouragement of loosening of strict laws. Okay. I hope that works, so that Saudi Arabia 2.0 could become a role model for other countries, so that they could see the benefit of not having this strict, barbaric, ancient models for running a society. I would join you in celebrating that. I would be praising that. I would even be advocating for tourism to that Saudi Arabia 2.0. This is not what's happening here. In fact, you should want this thing not to work, okay? Because if the Saudi 2.0 marketing and PR was working, okay, that would encourage something positive. But if this PR works, that is sending a different message. That if this works, the message and the precedent that you're setting is that kill as many civilians as you fucking want, because people will get distracted like this with just a Bieber concert, okay? Don't worry about it. Just like a few $1 million in opening tourism and just like photographers and some sexy celebrities. That's all you need to do to be able to cover up the greatest crimes in our lifetime. That's all you need to do. So for Saudi Arabia 2.0, I would encourage that to work, because it will set a good precedent. For this, I would hope that it does, even though it probably will work. It worked on Sultan and Nuriyah, right? So if it worked on them, it works on other people as well. So it worked, but I wish it didn't work. I wish it didn't. I wish it had failed. I wish Vision 2030 fails, because if it doesn't fail, what are we saying to other dictators? What are we saying to other regimes? Yeah, I did mark that, Harris. I did mark that, because it's a cover up for other crimes. That's the goal. God damn it, I don't know if you guys are listening. This
is probably, he would have tons of enemies, and who knows how many assassination attempts are being plotted against him right now. And he's still, at the pace at which he's doing, is remarkable. Yes, he is, after all, a dictator. And that's why some people say some radical changes can only be brought by dictators. Like, for example, Imran Khan. Even if he wants to change something, he can't change anything, because you have to pass a law through the parliament, through the Senate. You have an opposition.
This is how democracy dies. Experience, right? Like you'll see, guys. You see, people are always impressed. This is how democracy dies, when dictators are managed to give you some short-term results. We'll see what happens in 100 years. I mean, we won't see it. Other generations will see. This is how people got impressed by Stalin. Okay? This is how people were impressed by Stalin. Because when you have up-down command economics, you can make fast changes like this. It's like a family that looks very rich because they're just like living on their credit cards, right? Like all of a sudden, like let's say like a family that had nothing, all of a sudden they have a nice car, they're going on trips, and we're like, oh my God, they must be doing something right while they're living on credit cards, and this is going to be like a shorter term progress, right? It just looks very impressive. But in the long term, and this is why people like, they look at China or like, oh my God, they built a hospital out of nothing overnight. That's what dictators can do. Like maybe democracy was not such a good idea, guys. Look at how impressive. Look at the trains that they're making. Okay, give it a couple of decades. Okay, democracies don't have those impressive fast changes. Okay, but in the long term, over the long run, they always come out winning. But people, the danger is these flashy things that dictators, like this fast changes. Like look at the mass productions. Look at the boost in the economy that, I'm just going to say his name, the Hitler or Stalin managed to produce for Germany or Soviet Union because of the mass control they had over the things in the short term, right? And people were so impressed, like, oh my God, they just changed things overnight. Well, let's see how things work out in the long term using your model.
You have a media that's going to shit on you. So it's a lot more complicated than that. I take it you're trying to take a moral high ground.
Moral high ground.
Practical. So
it's not very practical to take the moral high ground, guys. We're taking a moral high ground. Okay, we're like, guys, a bunch of concerts should not be distracting us from mass massacre of people. This is just Armin, get off your moral high ground. You think like you're so much better than everybody because you're against mass massacre of children. Come on, be more practical. They have concerts. They have Bieber concerts. Be more practical, guys.
No, but I do agree. We have to, like, I know you did say, obviously, like, the Khashoggi incident and stuff will, like, forever be added to his resume, but...
The Khashoggi incident will forever be added to the resume. Guys, what about Yemen? Okay, we'll get to that.
I think that is, I mean, we can talk about what he's doing and, like, the rate of reform and the stuff.
It's amazing. It's amazing, our priorities. Again, guys, Khashoggi was... I know he has some views that I disagree with, but overall, he was a hero, okay? Overall, he was a hero. I feel so sorry for him. He shouldn't have, like, that was like a major, major crime. But the fact that that man's death has captured our attention, like it should capture our attention, okay? It was a major crime, but the fact that we have like nothing similar to the hundreds of thousands of Yemeni people, civilians who are dying. It's unbelievable.
He's pushing into action, but I do agree at some level it is it's very
believable. What am I talking about?
Very superficial. Like, it is purely like the same. I saw.
Look at this, like, look at it. Whoa, Armin, calm down, bro. Tears of joy, smiley face. Tears of joy, smiley face. Tears of joy. It's just children starving to death. Calm down, bro. Calm down. You're just being so hyperbolic and exaggerating. Just chill. It's only the greatest humanitarian crisis of our time. That we're just being silent about. Just calm the fuck down. Chill a little bit. Chill, Armin.
All this happening to Dubai in front of my eyes, but it's literally where you're just throwing money and you're bringing in these big names and you're getting celebs and you're just getting people's attention. You're garnering that hype. But deep down, you are, as you rightly said, a dictator. You have no respect for human rights. You should be literally answerable for this murder that kind of the world has just suddenly, they've had to overlook for various reasons. Like you said, this is politics. It's complicated. But I mean, I don't think for a lot of people, even if you have like a slight affinity to human rights and putting that as like a marker for how much you respect somebody as a leader or not, then that is a forever stain on MBS for sure. And also, again, like it's good to talk about the women's rights and stuff, but mate, how those migrant workers are treated there. Once the kafala system of them having their passports being held by their master employer and them being deprived of their salaries and not being able to go home, when they execute people, when they hold people in jail and they don't even have the decency to send that body and repatriate this diseased person back to their country, their village in Bangladesh or Pakistan or India, so that his wife can, see him for the last time. Saudi Arabia.
So can change over. Things can change overnight, just as dictators are overthrown during Arab Spring revolutions. Mass struggles can and do change things.
Don't even engage with that. They've been. They've signed on to many agreements with Imran Khan and people in his government level to repatriate.
By the way, Nuriyah is by far better than Harris on this. I just like, even though, okay, so let me just be fair to Nuriyah, okay? Nuriyah hasn't been doing this as long as Harris has, okay? So maybe she's not aware of like the Yemen situation, okay? And she's like holding Mohammed bin Salman somewhat responsible for the things that she's aware of. Like, I'm hoping now that I'm hoping like she looks at the Yemen situation and how Mohammed bin Salman is, how much of it is Mohammed bin Salman is responsible for, so that next time maybe she mentions that. It's amazing that people are not aware of it. But I mean, Harris has like been doing this for longer. He knows what's happening in Yemen. He watches some of my videos. I talk about Yemen all the time. I don't know how he could not. And unlike Nuriyah, Harris actually endorses Mohammed bin Salman. He praises him, like Nuriyah hasn't.
Create Pakistani prisoners. They have been following up with MBS time and time again after he promised openly to repatriate 1,000 prisoners. I think it was.
None of this is like all of this is bad, by the way, that Nuriyah is mentioning. But it's none of it is even remotely comparable to the crimes in Yemen.
So I think I don't know if I chatted to you about it or where I was at that point in life, but I definitely talked about it at some point, and he never ever followed that through. So he is still a man where you have to. He is completely selfish with his interests, and it's not like a fair playing field for human rights and citizens living in the country. I could very well be in Saudi Arabia, but I'd be treated extremely differently from a Saudi national. He's almost waving the fruits of like, hey guys, this is what like a money fun-filled society looks like. This is what normal people do. They go to cinema. Hey, do you want a taste of that? This is what people do when they go out to eat in like mixed groups. Do you want a taste of that? Like little things he's like peppering them with. But I definitely do think,
Helen Joy is the same, bringing more rights for the people. But this is what he's doing. Getting Bieber, etc., is all smoke. I mean, but you hopefully you understand the importance of.
So somebody's telling him getting Bieber, etc., is all smoke and mirrors. So thank you, Helen.
Of soft culture. This is what makes people soft. This is why it's called soft culture, soft art.
Is that why it's called soft culture? It makes people soft? I don't think that's why it's called soft culture.
Soft image. So these things actually matter. In inviting a distinguished Harvard professor to lecture people.
What are you talking about? Okay, I know you know in the live chat. I think you're not even listening, so I don't know what else to tell you. I've already repeated myself like a million goddamn times, and some of you in the live chat are still not getting it. So I'm not just gonna. I don't know how many more times to repeat myself.
Harvard professor to lecture.
Oh, he's still showing that. He's still showing this. He's still showing this as a way to, like, even though this was done at the same time where the free thinkers are rotting in jail, like this should be like on The Onion or something. Like this cannot be real world. Like this, like the fact that this is not being ridiculed, but actually praised is amazing to me. You have a conference on allows free thinkers to talk, and you have a conference about it while your free thinkers are actually rotting in jail. While Raif Badawi and others and other activists are rotting in jail. But he has a conference with free thinkers. Like, how is this being shown as something to praise rather than something to ridicule?
People on free.
Like the fact that you can have, instead of actually, freeing people, you could actually have a conference on free thinking and people will still praise it. The fact that that works is terrifying.
Free thinking leads you to human rights. This is why I said it's very surprising for me, because free thinking doesn't only just go against religion, it actually goes against dictatorship as well. So I don't know why MBS is going that way, but I don't know, maybe, who knows? I don't know. I'm not going to say that he's probably thinking about turning Kingdom of Saudi Arabia into Republic of Saudi Arabia. I'm not going to say that, but at the end of the day,
you have to be careful though as well, even with these settings, because a lot of what is being presented under the guise or the name of, I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt and say it was fully a free thinking, like these were actual people invited to be able to speak unfiltered. But you know that in order to speak there already, you are given such limits on what you can and couldn't say, what the scope of the subject is, what the scope of the topic is. Even when British comedians would come to Dubai and I'd go and watch their live stand-ups, they actually were like, oh, by the way, I've been told that I can't mention that. And then like when they were doing the skit, he was like, oh yeah, and then English people do this, and Muslim, I'm kidding, Arabs, I'm kidding, I've been told not to. And like they are given stark warning. So it always, you have to take it with a pinch of salt. But I fully agree, like where there is change and progress.
We're already getting the heat though. Fair enough, MBS was reportedly implicated in the killing of Jamal Khashoggi. He was cracking down on dissidents. We know that he's a dictator. So
it's just a dictator, guys. It's just dictator things.
We're not getting the other side of it, but
we're not getting the other side of it. Wait, what?
Again, you're not getting the other side of it.
The other side of it, the other side of killing dissidents, there's another side. There's a good side of it.
But in a country like, you can put Dalai Lama, you can make Dalai Lama the Prime Minister of Pakistan. Even he would not have courage to say that blasphemy law needs to be taken out.
Would the Dalai Lama bomb ports as a way to withhold food and medicine to civilians? I'm pretty sure like he could at least do that. I'm pretty sure maybe the Dalai Lama could at least do, like, they're like, oh, like he's like saying like, guys, it's complicated. It's complicated. You can't just have secularism and freedom overnight. Even if you were in charge, you can't just come out and just remove blasphemy laws overnight. How about just not bombing civilians? How about just not doing that? Like, is that too hard to do?
So would every bad thing, every horrible thing, every horrible law that exists in Pakistan, would you put that on Dalai Lama? Doesn't work that way. But
if the Dalai Lama, if we put the Dalai Lama in charge of Saudi Arabia and he said like, hey, I looked at things and I'm going to move forward with the bombing of this port so that the civilians in Yemen die from starvation. Okay. Like, oh yeah, I actually put, like, guys, imagine if you put the Dalai Lama in charge. I was like, I used to be against using starvation as a weapon of war against civilians, but then once I came in charge in Saudi Arabia, I looked at things, I realized that things are too complicated, and it sometimes makes sense for us to use starvation as a weapon of war against civilians. Sometimes, like, the world is so complicated. Sometimes that's actually the proper way to go about. Like, you cannot just overnight change things and not use starvation as a weapon of war against civilian and children. You have to gradually move out of it. Even though no king before me has done this, like, even though Saudi Arabia, like, guys, like, people are like, oh, this is just normal. This is just dictator stuff. You can't just accept progress just overnight. Guys, Mohammed bin Salman is the first king that is doing this. No other king before him did this. No other dictator, even the worst dictators right now in the world, are not doing this. Like, what are you talking about?
But as I said, you guys are taking a very high moral ground with it.
It's very high moral ground. Guys, your standards are too high. Not killing civilians, massacring civilians in mass is just too high of a standard.
Practical. It's not going to be.
It's not practical. We just have to kill civilians. We just have to. It's not practical not to do so.
It doesn't work that way in the real world.
It doesn't work. In the real world, you just have to kill a few civilians, apparently.
Sorry, Harris, but I agree with Armin more on this issue here. He should be congratulated on his good things, but he should also be... Yeah.
No, Ian, what are you talking about? So I agree with... Look, guys, even the people who are defending me don't get to understand me. Ian's saying, sorry, Harris, but I agree with Armin. More on this issue here. He should be congratulated on his good things. What are you talking, Harris? Ian, when did I ever say Mohammed bin Salman should be congratulated on anything? But he should also be criticized on his bad things. Ian, I never said that he should be congratulated on a single fucking thing.
Well, we do that. No one is...
Look at this. Harris is saying, we were never looking at it from the Yemen's angle. Well, maybe you should have, Harris. Maybe the guy that is responsible for the greatest humanitarian crisis of our lifetime shouldn't be praised, but the excuse that we were just not looking at it from that angle.
Is saying anything other than me calling him His Majesty. That's not necessarily...
And we did cover, like, he put that journalist away. He banged him up for, like, remember, 15 or 12 years or something. So it is like...
Yeah, we spoke about that. The Yemeni journalist, we spoke about that.
We mentioned Yemen. Oh my God, Yemen was mentioned.
So it is like...
It's not Yemen itself. It's not the woman Yarkrams. It's just a journalist.
Yeah, we spoke about that. The Yemeni journalist, we spoke about that. There's a video on that.
Yeah. He banged him up for, like, remember, 15.
Oh no, it's not the Yemen. Unfortunately, it's not the Yemen war crimes. It's just like a Yemen journalist that was silenced or something.
12 years or something. So it is like...
Yeah, we spoke about that. The Yemeni journalist, we spoke about that. There's a video. We did call it out. But again, that is, I would say that is probably, those are the things he's trying to take away. But those laws are still in...
Yeah, Apostate Prophet is here as well. Hi, AP.
In place. He's not...
Yeah, you're right. Yes, some of you are old enough to remember Rwanda, but right now I'm talking about Yuval. This is the greatest humanitarian crisis right now. Okay, so even if you're in your lifetime, you have had bigger humanitarian crises. This is the biggest one right now.
How can I just overnight tomorrow is going to come out? But at the rate at which it's going,
guys, we're gonna get to the boring part, and actually not some boring, because we're gonna get to the concert part. I'm gonna watch some other videos with you guys, but I need you guys to watch this. Okay, I need you guys to watch what Mohammed bin Salman is responsible for and how is he trying to whitewash it. Okay, this is the important part. Is coming after I finish this video. I'm not done with just this video. Okay,
you don't be
because
surprised.
nobody, guys, I want to actually thank Harris Sultan. Okay, because I like people, even based on our low viewership standards, people still don't give a crap about Yemen, even less than the rest of our videos. Okay, but maybe Harris is actually helping us bring attention to Yemen, because maybe this way some of you actually will give a shit. Okay, maybe if there's some drama between me and Harris, maybe I should thank Harris to providing me with an excuse to inform some of you motherfuckers about what's happening in Yemen. Okay, so maybe Harris is actually helping us bring more attention to Yemen. So thank you, Harris.
If next month he comes out and says, you know what, with political prisoners or people who speak against Islam will not be they will not be given harsher sentences like Raif Badawi was, for example, given. Don't be surprised. I can tell you that. But even then you would find another thing and you would say, well, what about that? What about that? So
yeah, because obviously MBS is playing both sides, exactly, and he's still playing the ulema as well, which are, they in Saudi Arabia historically have held so much power, like even more power than the royal family. So the royal family was still almost answerable to them, like kind of like the parliament and queen relationship here. It's like, but it's just a given. And now, he could have easily have said, this doesn't warrant this much of a jail time, but he's walking a fine path. It's like how Imran Khan is always stuck with appeasing at some level the mullahs and the Islamic clerics because of how much power they wield in society. You have to walk a thin line.
Yeah,
for sure.
You're constantly walking on eggshells. And Harris, good point. Write it down somewhere. Change is hard and generational. Apply it universally. Ayan is saying he already has powers. He can.
Guys, look at this. Harris. Change is hard and generational. Applied universally. I agree with that. Every time I say I'm against reforming Islam, people like Armin, will change has to happen gradually. Every time I say I'm against Mohammed bin Salman, Armin, you can't expect him to change things overnight. Things have to change gradually. Guys, I was never under the illusion that change can happen overnight. I know how gradual change is. Okay, look at history. All the Age of Enlightenment, the progress from the Age of Enlightenment wasn't even happened after the French Revolution. It came way after. I haven't even given up. A lot of people have written off the Arab Spring thinking it was a failure. I think you can't judge that. I think the effects of the Arab Spring, you could see that 100 years later from now to judge it, whether that's how gradual, I think, right? To see what was the effects of the Arab Springs. I know things are gradual. The things that I'm against, I'm against them not because the change is not fast enough. I'm not that impatient. I know these things take multi-generation. Okay, I know that most of the progress that I'm hoping for, I'm not going to be alive to be able to see it. Okay, what I'm saying is that these are not even gradual progress. These are a move in the other direction.
Change is hard and generational. Apply it universally. Ayan is saying.
Let me see what. Apostate Prophet is saying, of course, Armin criticizes Saudi Arabia because he's Iranian. Secret Shia, the biggest humanitarian crisis is Armin's taqiyya. Yeah. Okay.
Saying he already has powers, he can carry on with his good things without harming anyone. No, not really. It doesn't work that way. When you're playing with religion, he might have powers, but that doesn't mean you can literally.
So he already has powers he can carry out with his goods. No, guys, Aryan, I know you're trying to defend me, but that's not my criticism. If Mohammed bin Salman wasn't a war criminal and he was trying to make these changes to Saudi Arabia and it was gradual, I would be completely for it.
Do everything overnight, everything that you want. How is
Harris how do people know about my positions and not even know why I have these positions? Like for example, Harris is like, oh, Armin has this position. Like I have constantly made like when did I ever bring up Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, and not mention Yemen? And how is it that Harris, who's like claiming to be criticizing my position, know my position and not and try to like the way he's attacking it is by making arguments that I haven't even been making. Okay. And he's like, oh, I'm not looking at it from the Yemen angle. Well, maybe then how are you criticizing me? Like, when have I ever not mentioned Yemen when I bring up Mohammed bin Salman? Are you only aware of my conclusions and criticize them without even know how I got there? So why are you even criticizing? How do you even do you even watch? Like, how you then you must not even watch anything I do. Like, how are you aware of my position if you don't even watch anything I say about Saudi Arabia?
Put you in his shoes, you would be a lot slower than what he is. You cannot. These people get.
I know it's going to be slow.
How many dictators were overthrown in 2011? People who had held on to power for.
Actually, I thought it was going to be slow. Like, at least in Iran, it has been a lot faster than I ever assumed. So even as an optimist, the data seems to be more optimistic than even I assumed. So like, you can't accuse me of expecting fast change, because things are changing faster than I ever assumed myself.
20, 30 years. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Hey, you know what? Struck out that law. We're going to bring, he's like, he has got advisors as well. He'd be like, okay, sir, we've already made significant changes in the legal system. Maybe we should wait for this one. We have to do that one first. So all these things work in tandem and slowly.
Okay, I'm going to watch the next video. You guys go subscribe. Again, I'm a supporter of Harris Sultan. Reminder to new people coming here.
The war in Yemen.
I think his channel is very valuable. Also, like, if you're not subscribed, you're not going to get some of the best information. Guys, if you're interested in Islam and criticizing Islam, you need to be subscribed to Apostle Prophet, Harris Sultan, Abdullah Samir. Like, obviously, you need to be subscribed to all of that. Okay, so I'm not, like, me criticizing Harris Sultan is not me saying that this is like again, I don't know how many more times I have to claim that. Okay, like, mention that I see Harris as a friend. I see his channel as a valuable asset to our movement, and I agree with 99% of the content that he puts out there. Okay, but this was too important for me not to criticize. Okay, let me just give you a quick rundown on what's happening. Okay, and also then I'm going to show you some suffering, and give you some numbers, and then talk about the Justin Bieber concert, and look at some of the reforms that are being made. And yeah, so let me just go through these quickly, okay? And then maybe if Harris is interested, I don't know if he's going to be interested, I will send him a link to come up with Apostle Prophet saying Armin hates apostles. No. I'm hoping that we have a willingness. We're able to show that we have a willingness to accept criticism. I think we do. And this is how we can do better. Okay. I do not, like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have really bad takes at some point, and I do not want my friends to hold back if I have a bad take. Okay. I do not, like, you're not being a true friend to me, at least, if I say something that is a bad take and you do not come at me. You don't even have to be private about it. You could be completely public about it. Okay. Anyways, will you bring Harris on after? Yes, I will bring Harris on if he is still here, and if he's available and if he wants to. Okay. Let's continue.
The war in Yemen has been raging for 3 years, killing more than 10,000.
You have audio, right?
And leaving many more starving. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is considered the architect of the war. But how exactly is he involved? MBS decided to intervene in the Yemeni civil war in 2015. As Minister of Defense, his intention was to combat the rising influence of Iran, which had been supporting the Houthi rebels against the Saudi-backed government. President Abdul Rabbuh Mansour Hadi, who is currently under house arrest in Riyadh, replaced longtime President Ali Abdullah Saleh after a Houthi-supported uprising in 2011. Despite the change, the Houthis continued to protest, and the dispute quickly became violent. They rapidly took 2 cities, including the capital Sana'a, prompting countries in the region to believe they were backed by Iran. MBS, who had once called Iran's supreme leader, quote, the new Hitler, reportedly told US officials that he wanted to eradicate Iranian influence in Yemen. Prompted by Hadi, a Saudi-led coalition of 9 Middle Eastern and African countries began bombing the Houthis. What was meant to be a quick operation turned into a humanitarian disaster. The conflict has stretched for more than 3 years, and the bombings have devastated Yemen. What is important to look at, though, is how exactly they caused that devastation. The Saudi-led coalition is the only force bombing Yemen, with Iran alleged.
All right, so this is important to realize, okay? A lot of people think that I'm trying to whitewash the role of other countries in the war of Yemen. I'm not, okay? United States is responsible for the war in Yemen. The Islamic Republic of Iran is responsible for the war in Yemen. Germany, the United Kingdom, the UAE, all of them, they're responsible for the war in Yemen, okay, for these war crimes. But nothing is black and white. There is the main architect, the main person that led the war, the main person that planned the war, and the main person that is directly bombing civilians and civilian facility, infrastructure in Yemen. The person that is at the front lines and is making these decisions actively is Mohammed bin Salman. Like, everybody else is responsible, but the war crime in chief is Mohammed bin Salman. Saying, look, it says the only force bombing Yemen,
with Iran allegedly backing the.
And guys, by the way, this video was made in 2018, okay? 3 years after this war started. None of this has stopped. Like, this has continued all the way through till now. Thank you, D, for your support. Saying secular humanism hard.
The Houthis with smuggled weapons and supplies. Although the bombings initially focused on Houthi military targets, it soon sought out civilian targets such as hospitals, schools.
Okay. These are not collateral damage, by the way. When they started targeting hospitals, schools, and funerals, they were the target. It wasn't like they hit something else and the school was next to it. It wasn't like they hit something else and the hospital was next to it. It wasn't like this hit something else and the funeral was next to it and the market was next to it. They targeted the schools. They targeted the hospitals. They targeted the funerals and the markets. And most importantly, the ports, which resulted in mass hunger and spread of disease because of lack of access to medicine.
Funerals and markets.
So he's saying the coalition kills children. Their warplanes bomb entire villages.
They even bombed the national electricity grid in the capital,
Guys, the national electricity grid, okay? This is what civilians use. This is like crushing an already poor, devastated nation. A nation that is already suffering from so much poverty. You're paralyzing them by taking out infrastructure like this. Thank you, Harris, for the super chat. Harris is saying, I've never enjoyed a critique as much as this. Maybe a couple of takeaways from this, but I'm sure I'll get Armin on one blunder he's made in this. I hope you do, because I hope you do. Harris, thank you for the support, and thank you for your willingness to accept criticism. And I hope that you're there to catch me when I make something, when I miss something.
They even bombed the national electricity grid in the capital, leaving its wastewater plant without power, causing.
Look at this. Like, look at, from all the effects that you could think of, like you guys, the people who are taking out the electricity grid, they know who's going to suffer from this. Like, these are monsters. These are monsters. They know who's going to suffer from this. They know people. They know civilians are going to suffer from this.
Electricity grid in the capital, leaving its wastewater plant without power, causing an outbreak of cholera.
Look at this. This was the plan. This was the goal.
The resulting outbreak has threatened millions. Doctors Without Borders has reported the country's cholera treatment centers have repeatedly been bombed, even after their...
Guys, the water could not be treated, so there's like a cholera spread, and they're trying to...
The country's cholera treatment centers...
They bombed it, and after that, when they try to treat people for the cholera, they are bombing the cholera treatment centers. Guys, these are coming with the direct orders of Mohammed bin Salman. This is the progress that people... This is progress? No king before Mohammed bin Salman has done stuff like this.
Have repeatedly been bombed, even after their coordinates were provided to the Saudi military. And Human Rights Watch has said that Saudi has deliberately sought to damage Yemen's production capacity.
I have to pause every single one of these, because every single one of these statements are like... Every single one of these statements is something that deserves years in ICC. Like, every single one of these things by itself is enough for you to completely condemn completely dismiss Mohammed bin Salman. Like, forget praise. Each one of these by themselves would make them the greatest monster alive.
Capacity. Economic targets such as factories and commercial warehouses have also been bombed.
These are not military targets. They're targeting factories to crush an entire group of people, an entire civilization. These are factories. These are not military targets.
This is in addition to the other economic measures such as trade and investment blockades. Saudi warships have physically blocked ships carrying food and supplies to Yemen.
They're denying people food. There's food coming to starving, and the Saudis are like, no food for you. Die, children, die.
Leaving the region unable to receive aid or supplies. The World Peace Foundation has also found that the bombings are intentionally focused on food supply.
Look at this. I can't believe, like, every fucking statement. The bombings are intentionally focused on food supply targets. Show me a bigger fucking living monster in the fucking world right now.
Supply targets, further worsening the situation.
They've attacked the people, the poor, the needy. They destroyed houses. There's no water, no electricity, and no petrol. Guys, if these people were ex-Muslims or apostates, or maybe then they would care about them a little bit more. You know, guys, Muslims don't care about them. The international world doesn't care about them because they don't have oil. And apparently we don't care about them either because they don't speak against us. They're Muslim, right? So why should we care about them, right? There's no water, no electricity, no petrol. I would personally describe it as Saudi aggression.
The bombings have also focused on farms, with rural Saddah targeted. Reports have suggested that the Saudi-led bombings were precise with their targets, considering that farms only cover 3% of Yemen's landmass. The Yemen Data Project...
Yeah, if you look at how much of the farm is being targeted, it can be an accident, given that it's only 3% of the landmass.
Project recorded hundreds of raids on farms, markets, and storage sites. Fishing boats have also been targeted.
They're targeting hospitals, schools, factories, farms holding ships that have food. But hey, they might get fish. Let's attack the fishing boats as well.
Along the Red Sea coast, with hundreds damaged or destroyed. A World Peace Foundation report has accused the Saudi-led coalition of causing starvation.
And guys, this video was made 3 years ago. It never stopped. of causing starvation and using it as
Foundation report has accused the Saudi-led coalition of causing starvation and using it as a weapon.
Look at this, guys. You see this picture of this starving child? This was this was the goal. This is not even collateral damage. This child was not even collateral damage. It was designed. This was meant to happen in thousands. This was the plan. This was part of the plan.
With the intention of making life unbearable in Houthi-held regions. The UN says that they're making life unbearable, starvation, and using it as a weapon. With the intention
of making life unbearable.
Of making life unbearable in Houthi-held regions. The UN says that there are now 14 million Yemenis at risk of starvation, making it the worst famine in 100 years.
The worst famine in 100 years. I would say this is worse than even Rwanda. This is worse than even Rwanda. Like if you add the numbers of, because a lot of people when they count the cause of the deaths, and so they just they look at the direct violence. The indirect misery is even more. And this is happening for 6 years. So yes, even with Rwanda, this is the greatest humanitarian crisis of our time.
40% of children under 5 are now acutely malnourished. Nearly 200% of
40% of children under 5 are now malnourished. You know what it takes for you to be malnourished?
Children under 5 are now.
This is getting close to half of the children
now acutely malnourished. Nearly 200,000 have been infected with cholera, and more than 2 million have now been displaced. All of this makes Yemen the worst humanitarian crisis in the world, worse even than the situation in Syria. And to what end? After 3 years, the Houthi rebels still control the capital and most of the country's western region, with commentators calling the Saudi campaign humiliating. But MBS has remained silent on the actions of the Saudi-led coalition and on the devastation caused by the conflict, leaving us questioning if he will ever be held accountable for the 3-year conflict.
Never is never going to be held accountable. All right, I don't want to show you more disaster videos. There's so many. Let me just give you a quick stat. Maybe just quick. Like, I know this is boring to you guys, but just bear with me for a second, okay? Okay, so UN Humanitarian Office puts Yemen war dead at 233,000, mostly from indirect causes. Okay, a lot of times we only care about the numbers when it comes to direct death from bombings, but we forget that the cost of war is actually a lot higher than the people who get directly bombed. Okay, so just be patient while I just quickly try to read this. Okay. Says, and this is recent, this is December 2020. Almost 250,000 people have died in Yemen's war, the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said on its website on Tuesday, confirming the huge toll from a conflict that has ravaged Yemen's economy and created the world's worst humanitarian crisis. The OCHA included the figures in an update within its latest global humanitarian overview, where it gave a description of the context, crisis, and humanitarian needs in Yemen. It said the conflict had intensified this year with 47 identifiable front lines by the end of October, up from 33 at the start of this year. So guys, like all of the stuff that you saw has just continued till now, and it's actually escalated by late 2020. The war has already caused an estimated 233,000 deaths, including 131,000 from indirect causes such as lack of food, health service, and infrastructure. More than 3,000 child deaths. Hostilities have directly caused tens of thousands of civilian casualties, 3,153 child deaths, and 5,660 children were verified these are the only ones that are verified. In the first 5 years of the conflict, and 1,500 civilian casualties were reported in the first 9 months of 2020. This is just the first 9 months of 2020. The chief UN humanitarian official in Yemen, the acting humanitarian. Okay, so these are. Okay, so I don't want to read the rest of it because it just tells you the catastrophe, the scale at which this is happening. Just wanted to give you a few numbers. All right, so now I want to show you really quickly. Let's look at this. Okay, it says Justin Bieber goes ahead with the Saudi Arabia concert after calls to boycott. Human rights campaigners and activists call on Bieber to cancel his performance to protest the kingdom's arrest and crackdown of critics. Still, even it's amazing that even with the people who are pushing back against, there's still no mention of Yemen. On Sunday night, Justin Bieber performed to a packed crowd in the Red Sea city of Jeddah in Saudi Arabia, singing some of his popular hits. Okay, so this is basically just saying that Human Rights Watch and others, however, have called the celebrities to boycott the kingdom, saying such events are aimed at diverting attention. Oh, look, people are actually pointing this out to us. Look, they made it easy. Human rights organizations have made this easy for us, right? But apparently they said have called the celebrities to boycott kingdom, saying such events are aimed at diverting attention and deflecting scrutiny from Saudi Arabia's human rights record. Okay, so people know, like, guys, this Human Rights Watch, they're saying they know this purpose. They know the purpose of this. They're spelling it out for us. They know the goal. Guys, if this was something separate, and if it was being done by somebody separate, I would be like, hey, it's just a fucking concert. That's great. People didn't have access to concerts. Now they do. But it's different from when you know that it's actually being used as a tool to whitewash something else. That's when you condemn the concert. That's when you condemn the concert. It's not like, oh, but US as well, but that as well. Yeah, if the Pentagon, guys, if the Pentagon was having a Bieber concert specifically to distract people from some of its war crimes, I would be like, fucking boycott that fucking concert. But look, guys, people are like, oh, you're asking for too much. This is unreasonable. There's just these celebrities. They have to do what this is their job. Really? Am I being unreasonable? Is this too much to ask? Apparently not. Apparently not. Like what Nicki Minaj cancels her concert at the Saudi Arabian Music Festival after she was told what this all is supposed to represent. Okay? So apparently, like, she gets it. It's not impossible to understand these things. Also, like, it's also amazing that we can expect more from Nicki Minaj than some anyways. So yeah, it's not like we're asking for too much. Like, if Nicki Minaj gets it, it's not like, oh yeah, this is so unreasonable. Oh my God, Armin, what do you want celebrities to do? This is so like, get off your moral high ground. Like, the standards are too high. Apparently not. Apparently some people are capable of understanding what's happening. Yeah, music guy saying her gay fans made her aware of it. Yeah. Really, apparently even celebrities are capable of thinking about more than just just the biggest money that you could, what makes. Do you want to? The one problem that we have is that we need our heroes to have like some sex appeal. The story needs to be sexy. We need like the people that we would defend. You know what I mean? I mean, like, don't get me wrong, we have to save our heroes, right? But we also have to help people who are not heroes, who are just civilians. But if they don't have a story, like the crime of the Yemeni people is that they don't have an interesting story. They were not activists. They didn't do something special. They don't have like something that we could read about. Like, they don't have a hero's journey. Okay? So that's why I guess it's okay for them to just die, because we can't celebrate them in this in the story that we read, that they use people that were trying to do something and they were like free speech advocates, or like they stood up to authority, or they did something, and like, they didn't. They were just people just trying to live, and that's why we don't give a shit about them. Let me actually mute this before I show the next video, just in case, because I don't want to get a... Look at this. Progress. I just muted the video because if there is a music playing. This is a Bieber concert. Amazing. Fantastic. Right? This is progress, guys. It's okay. This is like, look at this. Look at this, okay? Don't look at this stuff. Look at this. Just look at all the flashy lights. Look at this. This has never happened in Saudi Arabia. This is the Bieber concert in Saudi Arabia. Okay? You don't look at this. This is pretty. This is fun. We're having fun here. Armin, why are you ruining the fun with showing us this distressing pictures? Just concerts. It's for first time in Saudi Arabia. All right, so let me do one. So, okay, one last thing before I send the link. There was a patron who sent this message. On Patreon, when I posted this stream, Tariq commented and saying, we have to look at the real motives behind what MBS is doing, from MBS's past actions that were antithetical to human rights and freedom of speech and expression. It is very clear that MBS's so-called modernization of Saudi Arabia is purely for political purposes. There are positive social reforms, but these social reforms are also surreptitiously, I nailed it, consolidating more authoritarian powers in MBS. Yes. One thing people don't realize, that even if you want to ignore Yemen, okay, what's happening is that even internally, he's increasing his power, right? He's letting like women be able to drive and people have concerts and theaters, but the understanding is that it's happening through his grace. Like, I can give it to you and I can take it away. This is the problem with not achieving these three through the democratic process, okay? This is a gift from the king. A gift from the king that I'm giving as a way for people to praise the king, as a way for the king's power to become more and more centralized around the king. Because what's also happening, even within Saudi Arabia, even if you want to ignore Yemen, is that every single person that could have been a challenge to MBS has been eliminated, their wealth has been taken away, they have been disappeared, or killed or tortured. Even like, guys, you as ex-Muslim atheists, you cannot celebrate the way some of these religious scholars are being made to disappear, because the intention is to completely centralize the power. It's not like, hey, I'm removing these Wahhabi scholars and mullahs as a way, unless they bend the knee to me, as a way to make a progress. The progress that is being made here is to make sure that everybody bends the knee to Mohammed bin Salman. And if there is any loosening of the chain, it has to be done as with the payment of recognizing MBS as this benevolent king, that all good things come from him, right? That's the price. That's the goal, okay? And everything else is being like the killing of dissidents behind the scenes and hush hush, like you, is happening more than the kings before him. Like people are like, oh, things are slowly becoming better, but the dissent is being stifled more than before, right? So you let women drive, while at the same time you arrest all the women activists that were pushing for this, right? You let women join the army while you make all the generals who could have potentially questioned you disappear. Okay, you open theaters, and then while at the same time you consolidate power and remove people's ability to challenge you even less and less, right? But every time you do that, you know that would get media attention, so you just give some sexy news that media is more obsessed with, like, oh, we have theaters now, because that's a more sexy news than you making a few people disappear behind the scene. Like, people don't care about that. So you know what to feed the media to make sure that other people don't pay attention to it. That's the plan. Okay? And it's working. It's working very well. But let me actually show you. So this Tariq sent this to us, but he also sent us a link. And I do want to read that. I'm going to try to read it really quickly. Where did I put that? Oh, yeah. About the reforms. And then after that, I will send the link to, right after I read this, I'm going to send the link to Harris. See if he wants to join. Okay. So this is the link that our Patreon sent us. Tariq sent us on Patreon. It's saying Saudi Arabia reforms, royal power play or meaningful change. You guys can see this, right? Okay, Susanna is saying, please touch on how the facade of liberalism to bolster authoritarianism never holds and can never backfire, and can even backfire. Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, we've seen this play out exactly before, like with the Shah. But this is not even compared. This is even way worse than the Shah, okay? Because the Shah was trying to force liberalism from the top, but he was also trying to slowly do meaningful reforms, like, from the ground up. And he wasn't also a fucking war criminal. Like, he was trying to, but it was a bit forced, and that's why it was top down rather than bottom up mostly, and that's why it backfired. So that's a good point as well, Susanna. Oh, Harris is saying, I'm like 20 minutes away. Aren't you going to watch my other videos? Well, no. Today we're going to focus on Mohammed bin Salman. I'm just going to read this really quick. I'm going to read this. Maybe I'll what? So you're 20 minutes away, so I might watch something else before you show up. Yeah, there's something else I want to maybe I'll watch before you show up. Okay, so let me just read this. So guys, stick around, because Harris Sultan is showing. Like, look, guys, I knew it. A lot of people left because I was showing people stats and numbers, so that was the boring part apparently. Saudi Arabia reforms. Okay, yeah, I read the title. The pace of reforms is picking up in the Gulf state. A pattern is emerging that seemingly sidelines religion, but consolidates political power with Saudi royals, right? So it's sidelining, guys. We as anti-religion, ex-Muslim, apostates, heretics cannot get always excited with sidelining religion, okay? Yes, we do want to sideline religion, okay? But you can't just replace one monstrosity of ideology with another and think that you're winning, okay? They say, like what Nietzsche said, that, when you're fighting with monsters, be careful not to become one of them, a monster yourself. If you want to change that here, I would say, like, if you're fighting the monster that is religion, be careful not to support another monster that is maybe even worse than religion, okay? Monstrosity and evil comes in different forms. It's not always in the form of religion, okay? It might even come in the form of fighting religion. Sometimes people, in the name of fighting radicalism and fighting fundamentalism, are introducing something that is even worse. Oh, hi, Katie. Katie is here saying, took me a while. Happy New Year. Yeah, Happy New Year, everyone. Okay, Ian, that has nothing to do with the topic that we're discussing right now. Okay, so the article continues. Over the past month, Saudi Arabia has been announcing new social reforms almost every week. Earlier this month, Saudi Arabian authorities slightly amended a law to allow adult women to live independently. When was this article written? This was in June 2021. Okay, so earlier this month, Saudi Arabian authorities slightly amended a law to allow adult women to live independently. I'm glad it wasn't children, so thanks for clarifying that it's adult women. Without first having to get permission from their father or other male kin. Yeah, exactly. There we go. Vikram saying, if you gaze long enough into an abyss, the abyss will gaze back into you. And then it continues by saying, when you're grappling with monsters, be careful that you don't become a monster yourself. I think actually that was first. That I said that I forgot the order. A few days after that, other officials declared that women could register to go on pilgrimage to Mecca, one of the holiest sites in Islam. Wait, what? Okay, wow. Located inside Saudi Arabia. No, I thought I thought I read something else. Never mind. Located inside of Saudi Arabia without permission from a male guardian, they could, if they wanted, travel with other female pilgrims instead. Okay. Censorship of literature. Then this week, Saudi officials from the General Commission for Audiovisual Media reported that legal amendments meant that vetting procedures for imported books and magazines would be simplified. Saudi Arabia is considered one of the strictest censors of imported titles in the region. The new procedures would mean less censorship and more access to books in the Gulf states, officials told the local English language publication. Okay, let's continue. Late in May, the country's Islamic Affairs Ministry also said mosque speakers might only be turned up to around 1/3 of their volume when the call to prayer was broadcast. That may sound like a simple reduction in noise pollution, but the move has been particularly contentious in the conservative monarchy, where religious practice often takes procedure over other aspects of life. So yeah, they're trying to give it a less Islamic view of Saudi Arabia, with not all this religious stuff, mumbo jumbo everywhere. They're just trying to give it a clean, less fundamental, less religious, more modern look. Okay, these are the people who see modernity more in how things look rather than actual structural changes and not killing people. Maybe like that. Maybe that's yeah. Changes. Okay, so changes are accelerating. These are neither the first such reforms in Saudi Arabia, nor are they likely to be the last. Social change was already underway under previous Saudi king Abdullah bin Abdul Aziz Al Saud. Many of the more recent reforms can be considered part of the so-called Vision 2030, a wide-ranging set of socioeconomic reforms first proposed in 2016 by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in efforts to make this country more modern, liberal, and business and tourist friendly. Okay. Other significant changes since 2016 have involved allowing women to drive, lifting a decades-long ban on cinemas, and letting women travel alone. It's actually very helpful that you have all these bans, right? Because that way, it's actually one lesson that other dictators could learn from this is to just go ahead and ban every fucking thing, so that when you want to commit war crimes or do other shady stuff, you have things that you could unban to distract people. You know what I mean? So guys, if you have war crimes in mind to let's say in the next 10 years, you want to do the most shadiest stuff you could possibly think of, okay? Just ban everything right now ahead of time. Ban every fucking thing right now, so that when you do those things, you could be like, oh, remember that thing that was banned for 5 years? It's not banned anymore. And people are like, yes. Okay? and letting women travel alone, as well as ongoing gradual relaxations of gender segregation rules. Like, and they have so much to give. Like, like they have so many other things banned. They have so many war crimes under, that they could commit, because Saudi Arabia has this gift of having banned everything. So there's so much more other things that they could distract you with while they do all those war crimes. And they've seen that it works, right? So they're like, "Ooh, this is so good. Like we have a list of like 2,000 other things that are banned." Okay, every time we do something, we're like, "Hey, look over here, squirrel!" Like, "Hey, like here, what you like?" Just throw it at them. Just throw it at the media. There have been rumors that alcohol. Wait, what did I do? I clicked on it like it's a video. Hold on, I fucked up. Where was I? Okay. I can't find where I was. Okay, there we go. There have been rumors that alcohol, which is banned in Saudi Arabia and mostly unavailable there, may soon be permitted in some limited way. Isn't it already available in like the US part, like the foreign section, the expat area? I thought that was like the expat area they already had it. Recently, the changes have been accelerating, Saudi watchers say. This Robert guy, who I'm not going to pronounce his last name, a senior resident scholar at the Arab Gulf States Institute in Washington, described it as a dizzying pace of reform. The policymakers seems to have stepped on the gas, he said. Okay. Emerging patterns. It was clear that there needed to be some visible progress on Vision 2030. Yeah, because a lot of things on the Vision 2030 so far has failed. Okay, so it's something they need to throw something at the media because a lot of things have failed. The economic parts are going to be much more difficult, like the Aramco privatization of the Aramco, like putting it on they tried to put that on. They were like, this thing is worth this much, and we're going to do an IPO on the New York Stock Exchange, and we're going to make so much money, and we're going to solve all our shortcomings in cash. And people are like, "You're going to go IPO on where?" Like, on the New York Stock Exchange. I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Do you know you have to be transparent about everything to be able to go public on the New York Stock Exchange?" I'm like, "No, we're not going to do that." I'm like, "Well, then you can't go public. You can't do an IPO on the New York Stock Exchange." They're like, "But we want to." I'm like, "Well, then you have to be public about everything you do." I'm like, "No, we can't." I'm like, "Oh, shit." I'm like, "Okay, we're going to do private sales. So we're worth this much." And the investment bankers and everybody else like, "No, you're not." And they're like, "Yes, we are." I'm like, "No, you're not." And like, they're not getting near as much the valuation as they were hoping for. And a lot of the plans of Vision 2030 was dependent on the IPO of Aramco. So that failed. But the vision of the Vision 2030 the hype has to still continue. So they're desperate in creating excitement. And Justin Bieber is their way. And all this other stuff. Okay, so this guy is saying, in my view, the Crown Prince and the policymakers working with him are trying to find a balance between long-term objections and making tangible progress on the ground. A lot of these recent changes create an impact immediately. Yeah, such reforms also get more support from younger locals. He pointed out nearly 2/3 of Saudi Arabians are under the age of 35. Yeah, at some point, you're going to run out of things to give them. And then they're going to demand things that you can't give them unless you step down, and you're not going to do that. Even though some changes like so the article continues, even though some changes like the rule about loudspeakers may seem minor to us, didn't you already say that? Taking all together, the reforms are important political. So this political science professor said, okay, and not least because some of the changes were seen extremely unlikely just a few years ago. Okay, so let's continue. But the nagging question now is what kind of pattern the reforms are establishing. Brown says, my general reaction is to say that they are part of a trend of significant liberalization in some social spheres, but not in political spheres. Some are significant in daily life and therefore should not be minimized, but they are not structural changes, he noted. Okay. Touching nothing, changing everything. Social liberalization and political liberalizations do not go hand in hand, Brown and other fellow at the program wrote in the article. Yeah, whatever. In fact, the opposite has occurred. Okay, this is the key part, guys. You have to understand this part. Okay, the opposite has occurred. Many of the changes amount to reshuffling of personnel, procedure, bureaucracy, and legislation, they said, rather than a meaningful overhaul. And it is important to remember that many of these changes can still be reversed, they added. Yeah, the whole point is for you to recognize that these changes, the whole point of the monarchs, the Gulf monarchs, is for you to understand that the blessings come from the top. The blessings come from monarchs, that the blessing for you to lose your hope in structural changes. They're trying to feed you breadcrumbs so that you do not demand structural changes, what actually has the meaningful impact. These breadcrumbs are actually a move against the structural democratic changes that make the more meaningful longer term investment. Okay, so this is an attack on democracy, not a gift to it. Like, you guys are like, oh, this is liberalism. This is a form of liberalism for you to bend, and these are gifts for you to have to bend the knee to the king. That's the nature of these gifts. Okay? What the incremental series of reform is doing is further centralizing. Oh, this is, guys, this is the most important part. I'm so glad that this article is mentioning this. Thank you to to Tariq who sent us this. Okay? Centralization is the key term here. Okay? What the incremental series of reform is doing is further centralizing power within the Saudi royal family. In fact, there is some suspicion that all the thinking with power structure, the creation of new commissions and offices, and the rapid introduction of changes is just another way for Mohammed bin Salman to accumulate power and ensure civil servant and loyal and ensure civil servants are loyal to him. Okay, when you have so many gifts to give around because everything is banned, it's an easy way to eliminate anything that is a threat to you and centralize the power. And that is the greatest threat to structural long-term changes. It says, end of Wahhabism, question mark. It has also been suggested that the reforms are decreasing the power of Saudi Arabia's clerical elite and that the country is moving away from staunchly religious backbone of its social, legal, and political life. For centuries, a rigid form of Sunni Islam known as Wahhabism, which emphasizes a strict interpretation of Quran, has guided culture in Saudi Arabia. The rash of reforms has changed this. One example is the change in status of the formerly feared religious police, who used to patrol the streets looking for locals who were not dressed modestly enough and make sure that that restaurants and stores were closed during prayer times, among other tasks. Today, no longer have any. Today they no longer have any power to arrest offenders. I think they do still have the power to just tell people to warn people in the streets. If I'm not correct, I don't know if that has changed, but a few months ago, I think the powerhouse was just like in the streets, be like, "Hey, cut it out, cut it out." I think that's their power right now. Maybe that has gone by now as well. It is too soon to say Wahhabism has come to an end, Brown argued, but he added there is less emphasis on Wahhabism and of the role of religion in Saudi national identity. Yeah, something more evil is replacing it. Just propaganda, question mark. Despite all the reforms, something that has not changed in Saudi Arabia is the ubiquitous opaqueness. Oh, got it. Is opaqueness of its leaders' decision making. This is why, even as some patterns emerge, there is still uncertainty about what really motivates Saudi rules. For critics of the regime, that difference between social liberalism and political liberalism remains a problem. A number of human rights organizations have pointed out that the ongoing hypocrisy in the country, such as the fact that female activists who wanted to drive remain in prison despite the rule change, and that despite royal promises to decrease the death penalty, Saudi Arabia remains a world leader in capital punishment. Guys, the main reform that they can't have is dissent. Okay, you can drive and be a woman at the same time. That's okay, but you can't demand it. The king will give it when he wants to. Okay, that's when it happens. That's what happens. That's when it happens. It's not by pressure. It's not because you pressured him. It's because he's just being benevolent. That's what you have to understand. Okay, this is the last paragraph. I don't know. Is Harris, are you on the way? Harris is coming soon. Okay. Anybody who opposes the reforms may face arrest. Yeah, that's happening still. Ensure. No. Censure, or censure. Yeah, I don't know this word. Or harsh punishment. She said. This person pointed to a futuristic mega city project. Okay. Harsh punishment. Anybody who opposes the reforms. Okay. Neom. Okay, Neom is the name of the city that they're trying to build, the futuristic modern city. Planned for Saudi Arabia's Red Sea coastline. There was a lot of talk about it being a green city with a lot of healthy living. She said, but in fact, the people who live there for generations are being forced. Oh, so she's saying the Neom city that is being built, is being shown as this jewel of the Saudi Arabia, as a sign of progress, as a sign of a green city, as a sign of modernizing, as a sign of moving things forward. The foundation of this city is being built upon moving people against their will. So it's saying people who live there for generations are being forced out of their homes to make way for it. Hey, you're standing against progress, people. We're taking away their homes and kicking them out of their land because progress. This is modernity. Apparently, as modernity is not respecting people's property rights. That is apparently modernity. Jesus Christ. Referring to the tribe who lived there. I can't pronounce their name. This is fantastic. Okay, Harris is saying almost there. Is Harry ready? Yeah, no. Vikram is saying, "Is Harris ready to join?" Well, he's on his way. I think he's like driving. In fact, one tribal leader who protested the displacement was killed. Oh, okay. Guys, look at this. Look at the shiny Neom city that they're building. This is the future. This is the future. Apparently, there was a tribal leader who complained about it, and they just killed him. Just killed him. Guys, just look at the flashing lights. Just look at the pretty animations and videos they're making of the cities, the futuristic cities that they're building. Just make sure you don't complain about the fact that the people are being kicked out of their home. In a shootout with Saudi security forces. Oh, he was killed in a shootout in suspicious circumstances in a shootout with Saudi security forces, according to his supporters. There have been some, and guys, there has been so many other people who have just disappeared for just complaining. There have been some, including his own family, by the way, There have been some changes, but no real difference in the way that political prisoners are treated or the extent of which freedom of opinion is possible. The reforms don't impact human rights situations in a meaningful way. And until they do, it is really just propaganda. Guys, even in this article that is supposed to be like showing you how this is a whitewashing of crimes, they don't need to tell you about Yemen. You know why they don't need to tell you about Yemen? Because you don't care. Like, this is a whitewashing of other things. Like, even when they are doing like concerts and women driving and like this Neon City and Vision 2030, it's a whitewashing of the killing of LGBT and killing of witches and political prisoners and the killing of this, political descendants, political dissent, and people and political prisoners. This is all everything that needs. Those are what needs to be whitewashed with concerts. You don't even need the concerts to whitewash the greatest humanitarian crisis of our time, because nobody don't care. That doesn't even, you don't even need concerts for that, because who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? They were already poor anyways. They were poorer now. They were poor before. They're now just more poor. All right. Yes, Susanna is saying the nomadic tribes are being completely fucked over. Okay, so I'm just, because Harris is still not here, maybe I'll show you one more. Oh yeah, let me actually this is important before I bring Harris. This is important. I will show you this, but there's a trigger warning for this one. So be mindful. I do have to use the washroom real quick. Just being really quick. I'll just be right back, okay? But mind the trigger warning. This is not going to be pleasant. Why do I even do this? This is not going to make any fucking difference. It's not going to make any difference. Anyways. Do I have audio? Oh, wait. Tell me if you have audio. Once I still don't have audio. You have audio? No, I didn't forget to play the video. I was gonna watch it with you. Video. Okay, you have audio. All right. Look at these children.
Tagreed Hassan barely has the strength to cry. She's 12 years old.
She's 12 years old. Look at her. Hey, somebody let her know that at least women can drive in Saudi Arabia. Somebody let her know that, hey, at least we have Bieber concerts. Is she a believer? Is she a believer? Let her know that there's Bieber concerts. I think that's let her know. It's okay.
Her fragile body, like Yemen's plight, is a horror beyond words. The trauma of severe malnutrition has taken its toll. Her tiny arms are so thin, the doctors say she's lucky she's still alive. But in the face of the world's largest humanitarian crisis, they're desperately trying to cope.
So he's saying there's a great shortage of medication.
الأكسجين أنبوبة الأكسجين وبعض العلاجات الهامة نفس
We need more oxygen and painkillers and medicines for fever that are not available at all. They don't have access to painkillers. Honestly, I think that's even worse than death.
المهدئات علاجات الحمى هذه ليست متوفرة بشكل كامل.
For months, Yemen's children have paid the high.
This is Yemen's children, guys. Do you see children living like this? You know, yesterday I was watching like some videos on Facebook, and there were these children who for Christmas they got like a little puppy for Christmas, and they were so happy, and they were crying because they were so happy they couldn't contain themselves, and they were hugging their parents, and they were saying thank you, and they were just having the best time. Like they were so lucky, and their parents loved them, and they knew exactly what would make them cry in joy, and they were just happy. The puppy was happy, they were happy, and like I was thinking, like some, you know, I don't know, there's so many children. Why can't all children have that kind of a childhood? Look at this child's childhood.
For months, Yemen's children have paid the highest price.
This is a child. Doesn't even look like a child.
In a war now in its third year. Zara is 50.
Guys, this is what you're seeing is happening in the thousands. Thousands. Let me give you the number of what you're. Yemen. Yemen's constantly cited as the largest city. No. I don't have the number right now, but the number of children that are currently malnutrition goes way beyond just hundreds of thousands. So I just want you guys to just like imagine this, but like you're like, oh, poor her, but then multiply that by hundreds of thousands.
15. This is what hunger has done to her. And now a
Look at her
cholera
eye.
epidemic is spreading. With
Yeah, like that was hunger was not enough. Let's just add disease to it. And again, remember, this was by design. This is not a side effect of war. This is not like sometimes hunger and disease is a side effect of war. This is a different kind of war. This is a war that the spread of disease and hunger was on purpose. I'm never going to stop saying that because I need you to comprehend how evil that is. Many wars happen, and as a side effect, people go hungry, and there's some disease spread that it gets spread, and people suffer. Okay, this war is different. This war, the Mohammed bin Salman, what you're watching, was the intention, was the goal. I need you to understand that.
more than 5,000 cases.
Look at her eye. This is her childhood. This is what Mohammed bin Salman decided for her. This is progress, apparently. This is the reforms. This is why I cannot tolerate anybody say that they praise Mohammed bin Salman because of fucking Bieber concerts. This is this girl's childhood. By design, decided by Mohammed bin Salman. Don't you ever let anybody forget this. There's no more misery to humans anywhere bigger than this right now. And it has gone on for 6 years, just over and over and over again.
Every day. At Hodeidah Hospital, they're overwhelmed by cholera victims. More than 40% of those affected are children. Yemen was already on its knees, but now a disease which should have been left in the 19th century is in every part of the country. In the villages, this waterborne infection is claiming lives, as one father who lost his 4-year-old son, Ali, told us.
Like, okay, so somebody's saying, where's the Ummah? Okay? I have another question. Where is everybody? Where is everybody? This is not a time for us to be like, oh, why are Muslims not speaking about this? We're not even talking about this. Ex-Muslims are not talking about this. Ex-Muslims are not talking about this. This is human rights organizations. They're talking about this. So this is why we need them. The only other non-human rights advocacy group that is talking about it is the Islamic Republic of fucking Iran. And that's because they support the garbage Houthi militias. That's the only reason why they fucking talk about this. They have their own ulterior motives. So he's saying my son died from cholera because the water is contaminated and we do not have a solution for this. Yeah, because they destroyed all the infrastructure that could have cleaned the water. Like this water, they know that this water is filled with disease and they still have to drink it and they have no way to clean it. And they still they drink it, they use it knowing that their own son, their own family have died from it. But they need the water anyways. Yeah, Khalsa is saying that this amount of desensitization is insane. The world doesn't care. Yeah. Yemen is our how did we let this happen of next. Like Rwanda happened and people didn't give a shit. And then years after, like, oh, how did we let it happen? Oh, how? We're doing it right fucking now.
ده البير هذا والأشكياء يأمرنا على الله وعلى ثم الدولة.
He's saying we need a solution to stop this illness that has killed our children.
In the nearby clinic, Tagreed is finally receiving help. The father Ibrahim says they're doing all they can.
So this is her father saying, my daughter is in need of treatment in the main hospital, but I am a poor man.
أي مستشفى تبغى أي مستشفى الخارج أو كذا وأنا ما عنديش استطاعة حق ما أسافر بها.
Guys, by the way, just to let you know, this was done with the full support, backing, and funding, and sales of weapon of United States of America. So just a reminder that that's also something. He's saying, I am unable to travel, but I will treat her here as much as I possibly can.
Across Yemen, hunger and cholera cast the darkest of shadows. One aid agency has called this country's suffering a shame upon humanity.
Okay. Where's Harris? Harris needs to join us now. Yeah. I wish I had the stats. Anyways. Ian is saying, damn, look at his, no, it's a girl, his leg, her legs, her body used to all that fat storage. Might be starving for months of this. Yeah. By the way, this is not recoverable. Like these people, like these children are damaged forever. But hey, at least we have this. At least we have this. You know, just enjoy that. Like, yeah. I'm not gonna share the music. This is what we need. This is what we needed. Anyways, Harris, where are you? Yeah, Puya is saying, truly a shame upon humanity. Oh, Harris was asking for the link. Okay. Let me go to Twitter. Send him a link. How much should we wait for Harris before we go? Oh, there he is. How did he get the link?
Magic.
It says I have the link.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
Thank you for-
Hey, hi people.
Hey.
I want to say first of all, I actually want to say I have never ever actually ever enjoyed my criticism, or might I add, someone yelling at me as much as I did today, because I know exactly what position you always come from. I know a lot of people started sending me the thumbnails of this, and I was joking about it. I was like, "Oh, come on, guys!" Like I was, but I told everyone, "Don't worry about it. If anything, Armin Navabi would give the best criticism ever, and there would be no straw manning or anything. Like he would just look at it with his with his with his tunnel vision. Like I call you a chronic rationalist. Like you just can't, which is a
Okay,
great
but what do
strength.
you? Okay. Thank you for all that.
No,
But what
I'm
do you-
getting to that. I'm getting to that because I know you. That's another one of your quality where you don't like someone. No, but I think it's important for me to say that because some other people might think that is there a fight or something? I'm just trying to say that from that point of view. But yeah. So don't think that there's any bad blood or anything and not that I didn't like or enjoy that, because I actually thought, first I was thinking maybe I should skip this because Armin made some very good points, and I was like, he's onto something. I might have something on him too. I think I might have gotten him on some tiny detail as well.
Okay, but
yeah.
forget about just you and me. Okay, let's focus on like.
That's what we're gonna get into.
Yeah. Like, would you mind like talking about this on your channel, like because you get a lot more views than I do, right? Do you mind like talking about the Yemen situation?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is what I was going to say, that I think when you just was playing that, you said that even ex-Muslims are not talking about it. And I was like, yeah, that's actually kind of true. We did get desensitized. I just made a documentary video on Stalin, and there was a famous 1937 famine, kind of these footages that you just showed. And I was looking at it, grainy black and white footage, and I was like, oh, what a world we used to live in. But no, that's not used to live in. What's the number you just gave? 1.4 million people have it's under starvation or something like that, or some ridiculous amount of money, which is you said that it's the biggest famine in 100 years, so that includes 1937 as well, so it must be bigger than that. So I'm thinking at that point, when we look at those grainy old videos, we say, wow, that was a terrible world we used to live in. But no, it's happening now, so I think we should talk more about it.
Yes, and also it's important for us not to get like, because this has played before, Harris, like throughout history. The great, like when people commit war crimes, it's easy to distract people with shiny things. You know what I mean? Like, would you have been impressed with Hitler if for his like Autobahn, or like for if he just had like great, like if he had made some progressive points, like let's say for example during Germany's history at some point, I don't know, they're like, you know what, gays are not that bad, okay, even though they still have concentration camps going on. You know what I mean? Like, would you be one of those things like, oh, okay, maybe we should like celebrate this man Adolf right now because at least he's making progress? Like the concentration camps are still running and the trains are still moving, but now maybe like he's telling like we're like loosening up, people get to, maybe the handicapped people, we're like loosening up, the pressure on them, gay people are free, maybe we even allow some dissent, maybe get some people get to say, maybe not against Adolf, but maybe they can complain about some issues in the government. Would you be like ever in that situation be like, oh yeah, I praise this man now, like the way you said that you praise Mohammed bin Salman?
Yeah, and which is why I think there's a lot more that I would get into it, and hopefully not I wouldn't take too long on that. But yeah, there are some loose ends that are left in that video, and then now that someone like you put it under a microscope. So yeah, so saying that, okay, I would not condemn him. I think yeah, that's a bad statement or saying that. I don't think I said I congratulate him. I don't think I said that. But
said
I
praise
get the
him.
gist. Huh?
You said you praise him.
Yeah, but again, I would say that I was praising on that particular issue. But the biggest mistake that I made is not, first of all, the reason why I realized this very quickly is because you and I have exactly the same standards. And we hold exactly the same way. So you were actually saying, so when you were saying, making those points, I'm like, yeah, but that's what I say. That's what I say. But where I slipped up, and that's probably that's why I look like a fool, because that's ignorance, not deception or anything. That even when I was, there was one caller came a few days ago, and he was he's like very bad Nazi kind of ex-Muslim, like those ex-Muslims who hold terrible views about Muslims. So he was praising MBS. So I was being the other side. So I was telling him how bad MBS is. But then guess which examples I brought up again? I only brought up Khashoggi and that Yemeni journalist that I had, but I didn't bring up this terrible atrocity that has been carried out in Yemen. So that is purely when I was making those comments, and probably Nuriyah too. But that was a Nuriyah story, so she probably we just throw that in there, so we don't go and rehearse or do research. I mean, the person who brings the story does his research, so obviously you think the point, but the other person is just reading it and they're going along. So none of it didn't occur to either of us that, hang on, far worse than Khashoggi and the Yemeni journalist and Raif Badawi. These are the people that we brought up. But Yemen, the war in Yemen, that is far worse. So every point that we made was actually from every but that I made. That, oh look, he killed Khashoggi, but so all of a sudden you probably understand that the magnitude of why my soft-handedness on him was coming from that. It wasn't coming from the kind of footages that you showed, which is again embarrassing for me. I knew about that, but it just didn't click to my mind for the last, I don't know, 6 months or something. I know I heard you when you were talking. You made the video when you were talking about. I think it was about the Formula One driver, Lewis Hamilton. You were talking about that, and that's when I learned from you that Nicki Minaj had cancelled on him, and you were saying, but I don't think in that video you went as much about Yemen, but I did remember, but again, for some reason, it just didn't occur to me when I was making those videos. So this is a reason why I actually wasn't talking about that.
Do you see that how big of a problem that is? That
Yeah.
like the fact that the greatest humanitarian crisis of our time is just like not on anyone's radar.
Yeah, it is. It's embarrassing. But towards the end, when you said that, and that was very good, you hit the nail on the head. You said even Nicki Minaj can see that, and then people like me, we like to say we are human rights and enlightenment activists. And hang on a second, how bad it looks on me. Like I get that. I get that if I was a prime minister or a politician, I would have had to shake hands with him at some point and maybe give a smiling photo. But I'm not a politician. I am supposed to be a human rights activist. So I should be like, hang on a sec. This is something atrocious, and you should be, you should be tried for war crimes, which is again not going to happen either. But again, as a human rights activist, if Nicki Minaj can see it, we should be able to see that as well. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it worked in some warped, screwed up way. Maybe I haven't been keeping an eye as much as you have, or I should have for that instance. So yeah, that was.
Well, to be fair,
yeah.
you keep an eye on so many other things that I use your channel to make sure that I'm aware of. Like you do keep an eye on things that I'm not aware of. So, but again, this is I'm really. I really admire you for being like, I hope like when you point out whenever I fuck up, I am as good as you in accepting that, yeah, this was a major fuck up. So I really do admire that. Like that's really admirable. So, it's like, you make it really easy to criticize you because so I appreciate that.
The reason for that is the reason why it is like that, as I said, is because it didn't take me long to actually realize, because every argument that you were making on any other day, if I had just for some reason, if I just had that Yemen picture in front of me at that point, I would have been making exactly the same argument. So I haven't actually changed my view. It's just that my own view or conclusion was blurred, and you clarified it. Which is, for example, I always say that to other people. Like when all these radical Hindus, come to me and they say, "Yeah, look, we don't condone. They did this. We condemn this brutal lynching of a Muslim mob." But, and then I say, "Shut up." The moment you've added "but" in that, that's it. There's a justification in that. So I can't say. And again, all those buts that I was adding, they were adding from Khashoggi point of view. You could still argue that that's pretty bad as well. But there is no room for, look, Khashoggi, according to my own worldview, I would never make that statement that this so-and-so leader has killed 100,000 children, but he is doing reforms in his own countries, so we should celebrate it. I would never say that. But that video was actually kind of saying that, minus the fact that, again, the Yemen incident was in my mind. What I was doing, to be fair to myself, what I was saying that, look, he's a dictator. He's done some terrible things to like Khashoggi and Raif Badawi, but there is something happening there. So I was justifying it, but on a far smaller scale than that of a war crime, which is, again, that point you just can't defend it. But having said that, now that obviously it is to me, but every time when I would bring it up again, I do say that I, have to be very careful that don't give any leeway to this monster, but we do have to report him. Like if there's another radical reform that comes out of Saudi Arabia, I do have to report that, and I do have to say that that particularly is a good step.
No, okay. So here's the thing: when good things like that happen, the way I look at it is that the activists forced you, and you're desperate, and we could celebrate the change without celebrating you. Like you're being cornered, and you have to give these concessions, and we are happy that you have to do that, and we're happy for the people who benefit from the extra freedoms that you have to give them. But at no point in time we will see that as a cause for us to celebrate you as a person.
Yeah,
that's how I look at it.
Yeah, and that's a perfect way to look at it. Geez, I used to be like you in terms of my articulation. I think I cover so many popular subjects that your
videos are great. Like I watch you, and like you are like this was the one that just like hit me really bad. Okay, but I don't want you to think like I don't want you to. But I don't want you to think like this is my view of you. Obviously,
I know that. Yeah. Oh no, I know that. Oh, I look, as I know that. This is what I'm saying. Like, I don't think I would have ever enjoyed anyone yelling at me. Like when you got really passionate, I was like, okay. But again, there were some very good points. The points that Harris, is there anything that Armin said that you disagree with? Yes. So there is a little bit of a blunder that Armin made. So Armin said that I understand that things don't change overnight, but then at the same time, Armin is criticizing a guy who is supposedly holding these free thought conferences and bringing these free thought professors and everything. But Armin is throwing that in his face that, hey, look, there's still some activists in your prison. Because, hang on, let me finish my point. Because that would be you saying that, hang on, why hasn't he released all of them? So that would be your demand of it should be done overnight.
No, okay. So my demand is not for things to happen overnight. My issue is that events like these are more a cover-up than actual progress. That's my issue, okay? Because actual progress, like you could, there are ways to show that you're actually making progress. Like when you have political prisoners right now in jail and you act like you celebrate free thinking, it's just so ironic at the same time. Like obviously this conference is meant for, it's just like look over here, not over here kind of attitude. Do you know what I mean?
But don't you think? But don't you think that this could be a way of his effort of, okay, let's just get some of those arguments flowing, and that would soften the culture. Because for example, in the case of Pakistan, Pakistan is supposedly a proto-democracy, but
he's not. Okay, so here's the thing: if he releases the people who are questioning him or are a challenge to him, there's no other authority in Saudi Arabia that would challenge that. Like you're saying like, oh, he can't just like release Raif Badawi. Okay, why not? Like, are the pushback that he could get from religious scholars are much higher when you attack 99% of the standing hadith out there. You know what I mean? Who is he afraid of getting a pushback from?
It's still a law, though. Whatever law that whatever charge has been given,
The law
and
is
there's a
that
sentence.
Islam is the law, and yet he attacked the foundation of our fourth Islamic school.
No,
of
but he
thought.
he hasn't thrown Islam out of the window altogether yet. He's just making statements. So in other words, what this he's smoothing the surface.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying he should throw out Islam overnight. Okay,
He
but
hasn't.
I'm saying I'm not saying that he would or he should, but I'm saying that the things that are in his way to make concessions, like, I don't know, release all the political prisoners, are less than the challenges that he has, the backlash that he faces from saying only hadith mutawatir should be accepted. Okay,
I think that's an assumption.
The reason why he's being selective is what is a threat to his centralization of power around him. Like, so for example, when you let women drive, and the activists who were fighting for women driving are sent in jail, why the hypocrisy? Okay, the hypocrisy. At some point, I think like those prisoners would be released as well. But why women driving goes ahead of releasing the women who were fighting for women driving? Because one of them gets you the PR benefit, the PR stunt. The other one is inviting people to dissent. Like, one of them is, so it's not like the backlash. It's about you're not afraid of the backlash. You've already invited backlash by letting women drive. Actually, letting women drive gets more of a backlash to you from the Islamists than releasing the activists who are asking for women to driving. So the criteria is not like, oh, this is too much progress, I can't do it because I'm not in charge of everything. The criteria is like, what centralizes my power while getting the international image that I want.
Yeah, so I'll give you a technical problem in that one, is because yes, it's still a kingdom though. If they release this dissenter, the very person who MBS, let's just say, probably agrees with that, okay, women should be given a right. So the motivation that you're discussing here, that, okay, the motivation was just because get good PR, but at the same time, I can easily turn the argument around and I can say that, well, he would be caught out on the fact that, hey, you're doing this for a good PR, but there's a negative PR as well, because the same people who are going to give you good PR can point out, hey, the woman who actually forced that change is still in prison. So what the logic behind that is, or most probably could be, could be or most probably is that there is a law. This does behave like a dictatorship. This does behave like a kingdom, and dissent is never encouraged. So even though I agree with that particular dissenter's view, but if I did release that, then I will have to get rid of the law that discourages dissent.
He is getting rid of laws.
That would be the last one though.
No, he's already getting rid of laws that are causing more of a backlash. The selection of what to get rid of and what to change is not based on what's going to make the other powers.
And I'll give you. I have the answer for that as well. So dissent,
he's consolidating power and centralizing it around.
Okay, him. Yeah. Look, he's a dictator, but again, my point is,
okay. Harris,
let me make my point. No. I know where you're coming from with that, but you gotta let me finish my point. So he is a dictator who forces change who brings a change by force. It's like, for example, the case study of Gaddafi is that he actually, between 2007 and 2011, he became so soft that he was actually opening up to the West. That became the reason for his downfall. So if he actually gets rid of this dissent law, or the law of this fear factor from behind him, then not only the people who are liberals, who are happy in dancing for Bieber and women are given a right to drive, not only them, but other people would dissent against him too, and then his whole enterprise would come crumbling down. So that's where he's thinking from. So that would be the last reform that he would ever think of bringing. If I was him, I would also think that way.
Okay, we could disagree on that. Like, eventually, he's going to get rid of more laws.
Yeah,
Some
he
of
will.
these are going to happen, but at the end of the day, these are a side discussion compared to what the most important part is. I do want to mention before we lose more people, that there are places where you could do some help. This is one of them, right? So UNICEF is saying that maybe I should provide. I'm going to provide a link in the live chat. So it says Yemen is experiencing the largest humanitarian crisis in the history. 12 million children are in need for food, water, shelter, and medicine. Children are fighting an epidemic, a pandemic, famine, and a war at the same time, right? So, when I was, I donated to Save the Children, not to UNICEF, but I think a lot of people trust UNICEF more. So I'm going to provide this link in the live chat if anybody's interested. Yes, I'm going to do the link now.
So I did want to ask you. So there is a bit of a flawed logic there, though, because I know you said that
I'm okay
you understand.
Okay, I'm okay. Here's the thing. I'm skeptical. Like, I'm less certain about what's happening behind the curtain regarding the internal politics of what is the exact motivation, and I don't think we could ever know 100%. Like, there's so many things that are happening behind the curtain that we are just guessing right now. Okay, I am less certain on that, and I'm happy to be proven wrong. Like, oh no, this motivation behind this law was this and that. Okay, I think those are just, if you're right about this, fine. Again, that would be more relative to this Saudi Arabia 2.0, where the war crimes were not being committed. I would be so much happier to jump on the bandwagon of praising these reforms if it wasn't being done at the right next to the greatest war crime of our time, of our lifetime, as a way to cover up for all of that, right? If there was a Saudi Arabia 2.0 and it had very strict laws and such reforms were happening, I would be celebrating them because it's just overall a net positive. But this, but if you add that, and maybe if there is a net negative, it would be more complicated to show that. But when you add all this, when you add Yemen, then it's not even a question. I don't even have to. The calculation is actually very easy.
Yeah. So my point was that I know you said that, okay, we're all assuming and we're just speculating what the motivation behind all of this might be. But don't you think that doing the cost benefit analysis and just working out what's the best we can get out of that is we grab whatever change that comes our way? I know that little child that you said that child is not interested that a Bieber came or women are allowed to drive, but on the flip side as well,
that's a negative change, though. That's a negative change, because if a dictator commits war crimes and then uses changes like this as a way to distract from it, and it works, that is not a change that you should accept. That's setting a precedent that you can use. Huh?
Why does it matter, though? Because if you
why does it matter that it works? Why does it matter that if it works?
That a positive change is coming.
Because the positive change is an excuse to cover up for war crimes, and if that works, it encourages more of the same behavior.
No, I think they're two different things. You could probably say because
it is a PR.
I'll tell you. So you're saying to avoid people from what's happening in Yemen, he said, okay, how do I distract the media this week? I'll just say that women are allowed to drive. Is that what he's doing?
Yes. That's what every human rights active group that's covering Saudi Arabia is telling you.
Well, these are just outrageous things, because none of these, regardless of the...
You think Mohammed bin Salman is doing this out of the kindness of their heart?
No, because he probably does want to modernize his country.
Why would he? Okay. Mohammed bin Salman wants to stay in power.
Yeah, and he can do that by modernizing country as well, because he wants to move away from oil-driven economy.
Okay, why does he want to modernize his country? Why does he want to modernize his country?
Yeah, because stronger the country, the stronger country, the better it is for him.
Okay, so in a way to modernize, like, he has concerts, and what does that affect?
It opens his country up for the rest of the world. And
why? Why? Because it changes the
more
image.
Economy, more diverse economy.
It changes the image. right?
Well, yeah,
So the,
yeah,
so the goal is to have a more positive, friendly, accepting image to the
yeah,
world, as opposed to
yeah.
a country that commits war crimes.
Yes, but that
So
is
it's
not. Yeah. Okay.
so it's basically an image. Is a feeding an image to the world, as opposed to a country, to a
But-
king that uses mass starvation against children.
Both are no, but if there was no Yemen, if he was doing that, he would be building his image, because Saudi Arabia was already a conservative country. So you could say that is
No, this
not
is
from a war.
I keep saying Ali Harris. This is beyond conservative or liberal.
No. But you gave me an example.
Or non-religious.
But you gave me an example.
Like we have moved past that. Okay, when we move to the territory of mass massacre, including civilians and children. Okay, this is not about like, oh, conservative, liberal, free versus free. We have moved to a completely other territory right now.
There is that elephant in the room, but your theory is that he is giving the modern image of his country to turn a blind eye to Yemen. Yemen has already been neglected before that, and since then, if he wasn't every 6 months bringing that women can drive, no guardianship, and Justin Bieber, that would still keep getting ignored. What wouldn't get ignored, what the bigger purpose in my view, and it makes more sense to me, and I think probably would to everyone as well, Saudi Arabia historically has been known, not just the Yemen part, Saudi Arabia historically has been known with its chop square, hands are chopped off. So now look at this guy, and they have no cinemas or anything. Guys,
And
we're no
more
longer like that.
and
We're no longer like that. We're like this now. Yemen is not even in the equation, so that's even worse from the MBS's point of view. But I'm saying that is not the main motive.
So even if that's not in the equation, it's very interesting, because even with that Yemen, there are more people being killed. There are more people who are being kidnapped and disappeared. Okay, there are more people that are being put in prison for dissent than before.
Yeah.
The fact is that when it comes to even internally in Saudi Arabia, he's doing worse than the kings before him, but people have this perception that he's doing better because he knows what to feed the media that looks more sexy.
Are you sure about this? Are you sure that more journalists are being arrested right now?
Are
there the figures?
Yeah, more journalists, more political
human rights
activists, more human rights activists, more people who stand up against this. There are more elimination of threats to power than any king before him.
Okay. Well, if these numbers are there, then yeah, he's
definitely it's amazing that it's working. It's amazing that people still get the feeling that things are progressing, because concerts and women driving and theaters are just more sexy news. People disappearing in the middle of the night, people being killed in prison, descendants, like people who are a challenge to you being killed in shootouts and stuff. That is not interesting to people. Bieber having a concert in Saudi Arabia for the first time, that is interesting to people. And they know that, and they're very effectively using it. And we're letting them.
Okay, well, yeah, okay, well, obviously you know a lot more on this one, but then, yeah, I guess I'd say that I'd probably I've been falling to it. I didn't think that there would be more human rights activists, etc., would have been arrested under him than any other.
The political dissent people, activists that were in Saudi Arabia that were active before Mohammed bin Salman. There were many of them that were active before his ruling, and they were being active in Saudi Arabia. They all went to jail when Mohammed bin Salman came into power. The kings before them didn't put them in jail.
Right. So for him to stop dissidents,
for him is that if women get to drive, it's not because these people forced me.
Oh, I know
not
that.
Because it's because I'm doing it for you. It's a gift from the king. The king can give it, and the king can give it away. And this is an attack on structural changes, because he has to say, like, the whole Muslim Brotherhood standard, the democracy and Islam living together, that fucking bullshit, that's not going to happen. The kings will bless you. That's how you get your blessings.
Okay, well, that's a very good point, I guess.
They're terrified about the Muslim motherhood model. There's 3 models in the around the
motherhood.
Muslim Brotherhood. Sorry, did I say motherhood? There's 3 standards. I said the Muslim Brotherhood standard, which is like democracy and Islam living side by side. The Gulf Arab monarch standard, and the Vilayat Faqih Tehran Shia Islam standard. These are the 3 Islamic powers in the region. Okay, and the Gulf Arab model, which is the monarch standard, they feel threatened by these two other Islamic forces, and they've always been challenging each other's models.
Right. Yeah, well, there you go. Well, you got me. Yeah, it makes sense what you're saying. It does make sense. I my last defense would have been he's probably doing it because he wants to modernize Saudi Arabia, because he wants a stronger modern Saudi Arabia.
Here's the thing. Let's say even if you're correct and I'm wrong, okay? Let's say like we can celebrate the progress, okay? And let's say the progress is not just a cover up, and they're real progress, and eventually social liberalism is eventually going to lead to structural liberalism. Like, let's say that's actually the case, okay?
Yeah.
Even if that's the case, let's hope for that, and let's celebrate those specific progress, those specific changes.
Yeah.
Just never praise Mohammed bin Salman. But can we agree? Like, never.
Yeah. No, I totally agree, because you could we could probably, because at the same time we don't want to shit on all those other activists who have worked hard and who have pressed my MBS or these guys in power to bring about this particular change. So we're like, okay, we this is it. Congratulations to the activists who brought that change, but MBS is still a dick at the end of the day.
Monster, the biggest monster of them all. Yeah. Like, even by dictator
one-eyed
standard.
monster.
even Harris, it's not just like, oh, he's just a dictator. Even by this dictator standard, he's the worst of them all.
Saddam Hussein's level or worse.
If Saddam was alive, it would be a challenge. But right now, he's the worst of them all.
Yeah. Well, I think, yeah. How many people did Saddam kill?
Saddam was worse. But Saddam is dead.
Weapons, yeah.
Yeah,
but I think the number might have been smaller though. Chemical weapons that he used on people, on the Kurds. I think the number wasn't as high. Yeah.
It would be a challenge.
Anyway, okay, well that's pretty good. But yeah, the major blunder. I'm just going to wrap it up on this. The major blunder was that every comment that I made in that video that you just disintegrated was totally oblivious of Yemen's situation. Which is ignorance on my part, but not necessarily deception or giving him an extra leeway. It just didn't occur to me at that time.
Well, that's good. You're going to cover it now, so on your channel, which is great. So if that leads to also this is a net benefit, because people pay attention to me and you, like having a drama or like me going after you. So
yeah, I had a feeling that's why you were doing it.
No, because when I talk about Yemen, people are like, okay, bye. So I was like, hey, like if I could go after Harris and people are like, oh, ex-Muslim attack, and I could use that as a way to just maybe inform more people about Yemen, that would be like, if this is how we have to bring attention to it, let's just do that.
Yeah. Well, no, let's definitely talk about this. I think, and another thing I want to say, that Nuriyah was actually a bit more condemnable. Not a bit more.
Yeah.
She actually a lot. She actually is. Again, there are a couple of other videos where she's actually destroyed him. I think the Lewis Hamilton one, or there's one more. I actually sent a video to Susanna to send that to you as well, which hasn't been made public yet. But I think she'll probably be watching, or maybe she'll see it. I think it's pretty late in England right now. So what was I saying? So she is probably in that particular video. If she did not actually stop me a lot, it's because, as I said, it was my story that I had collected. So sometimes you can't bring up all the points, but she has actually condemned
I like how you're being protective. That's very sweet.
I'm not being protective. She can.
No, she was better. She was definitely better than you. I could tell you that.
I heard that. I did hear that. I was like, yeah, that's a pretty fair point, because I think at the end she did make that. She's made one whole video on Labour, but again, I think her mistake. Well, there you go. I'm about to throw under the bus. I think her mistake was also, we were still just looking from slave labor point of view. We were looking from women's point of view, and we were looking from human rights point of view. The Yemen thing just didn't occur to us. That just tells you how bad the Yemen situation of the media wipe out.
You know what they call the situation in Yemen? They call it the forgotten war. It's amazing that the forgotten war is actually the most important one.
They used to call this the Korean War the forgotten war as well.
Now this is okay. Let's just read this, and then we have to go. And by the way, Tarek, I read your comment, and thank you so much for your comment, and thank you also so much for the Patreon comment as well. But let's read what Susanna is saying, and then let's end it right here. You want to read that?
Oh, yeah,
It's to
Secular
you.
Jihadists, Sultan. Please tell Nuriyah that we really like her and I want to talk to her. I hope she's still open to it. Yeah. Well, I hope you have a number or maybe
Yeah,
WhatsApp or something.
we were Susanna. I think we're worried because we really wanted to have Nuriyah on, and we were worried that when I do this,
They
like,
decided to rip into her right hand, man. No, I don't. No, I don't think so. No, I knew this. Like, I was watching it. You know, like how many other people, if they make a video against you, you barely even watch it. But I knew this would be a good watch. And
Okay.
and
All
look,
right,
there
that's
you go. You cleared my vision, and I would say, well done.
I know you would do the same when I fuck up, right? I'm sure.
I'll have to wait for it though, because you don't really fuck up as much. Just talk about
I will.
Pakistan, and I'm sure I'll find something.
Yes, I will do that. I will. That's good. Good. Deal. Okay, cool. All right, guys, I'm going to end the stream here. We've been over 3 hours already. So thank you. And thank you, Harris, for coming here. And thank you for being so good at accepting criticism. Like, I hope I really appreciate that. And guys, go check out Harris Sultan's channel. Make sure you subscribe. You're missing out if you're not subscribed. Just search for Harris Sultan and you should be able to find it. And yeah, if you have any few dollars that if you're not in debt and you can afford to support, just just search for UNICEF Yemen children and you should be able to find the link to support you just a little bit. I mean, it's the new year, you might as well. Anyways, talk to you guys later. Bye.